Well, what do we have here? Is that an internet that I'm broadcasting to? Let's open up YouTube. See if we can't get my stream. Where is it? There it is. Hit refresh on that one. Bada bing. Bada bingus. Bada pause. And then pop out the chat. Haha! Managed to pop out the chat before any of the YouTubers have left a comment. They like to comment very quickly. Why is my stream open in my other window? I don't need my stream open. What's going on here? There we go. If there was any echo audio, it's just because my stream opened in my stream. What up, Bandit? How you doing? We're just gonna do some circuit work today. Figure I'll get out the breadboard and we can throw some circuits down and test out what we're gonna be doing with this mixer. You two folks, they're fine. They're fine. There doesn't need to be a rivalry between our sects. I'm broadcasting just the same to both. Only Twitch gets Nightbot and stuff. Hey, what's up, Tim? How you doing? 19862. Let's see what the CD4016 is all cracked up to be. Whether we use a transconductance amplifier or if we use mutable instrument circuits. I forget what circuit we were going to do. A lot has gone on in the world in the past couple days, so I'm going to try to hide out from all that stuff. I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. I've had way too much to eat already. Yeah, a little bit of mixer time today. We're going to take a look at the mixer and see whether or not we can get it to mix. Basically, I want to breadboard the circuit so that I know what the schematic looks like, and then I can put all the parts together, and we can wedge all those parts onto the tiny little board and start to actually figure out whether or not we can build the circuit within the confines of the design limitations of the company that I was going to use to make the circuit board. Who was it again? JLPCB. Yeah, there we go. What you got going on? What I just said. We're doing a little breadboarding. We're going to figure out whether or not we can make a mixer. Yeah, I'm not sure what transconductance really means, to be honest. I've not studied musical audio and electronics, so I don't know what they're getting at there. All I know is that's essentially what we're using to describe a VCO chip. No, a VCA chip, a voltage controlled amplifier chip. The term, I mean, it's in the data sheets. We can read and see what it means maybe. LM13700. Adjustable over 6 decades. That's a long time to be able to adjust. 2 current-controlled transconductance amplifier. Transconductance amplifier. Okay, so they're not going to define it. Amplifier that outputs a current proportional to its input voltage. Thus, it is a voltage-controlled current source. Most units are constructed with bipolar transistors. Field effect transistor units are also produced. Like a standard operational amplifier, the OTA has high impedance differential input stage and may be used with negative feedback, but the OTA differs that the OTA outputs current while a standard operational amplifier outputs a voltage. The OTA is usually used open loop without negative feedback in linear applications. This is possible because the magnitude of the resistance attached to its output controls its output voltage. Therefore, resistance can be chosen that keeps the output from going into saturation, even with high differential input voltages. You're writing it just as I was saying it. That's all right. There's delay, and it's hard to reconcile. Differences mean that the vast majority of standard operational amplifier applications aren't directly implementable with OTAs. However, OTAs can implement voltage-controlled filters, voltage-controlled oscillators, variable frequency oscillators, voltage-controlled resistors, and voltage-controlled variable gain amplifiers. Huh. V is equal to IR, I guess. I guess that's a fundamental rule. Need some help to slow down a power tool. It's an 18-volt DC motor. No logic boards inside. Any kind of tips on PWM control or something like that? Not really. It depends. Is it just a universal DC motor? It's just one of those normal brushed DC motors. You could put a rheostat in there if you like throwing a bunch of your power into heat. Yeah, most motor control things are going to need a little bit of smartness, but I mean, there's motor control. You can look up a lot of different motor control circuits. You know, everything under the sun has been invented already. But a lot of the pitfalls are going to be dumping a lot of that current that you've got going into heat. And so I mean, like, if you do something digital, obviously you can do, but the boost converters also use up amperage to usable levels. Boost converters, yeah. Most of them is 12 volt. There's not much from 12 to 18 volts. You're going to basically be looking at the tolerances of things. So if something is like 5 to 36 volts, then yeah, you can use that under 18 volts. It's like a lot of the stuff that's built for 12 volts can be tolerant of 18. 18 is kind of a little bit of a weird offset. It's sort of one of those battery voltages where when you stack a bunch of batteries together, you can get 18 volts. So if you look it up in terms of like, well, I need stuff for like 24 volts or 36 volts, those are going to be your next jumps. 12, 36, 48, 12, 24, 36, 48. So yeah, if you look up motor control stuff, take a look at stuff that's tolerant. Mr. No Bother did a whole motor control saga like a year or two so ago. Yeah, we did a whole thing with brushed DC motors, but we went way overboard on it as usual. Trying to saturate a boost converter with a piezoelectric buzzer plate by vibrating it at 5 volts. There's a lot. What's going on? It keeps this super low amperage. Well, that's a piezo element. Piezos are good at making sudden high voltages. Saturate a boost converter with a piezoelectric buzzer plate by vibrating it at 5 volts. Half of the fun is watching me get into the weeds and tear my own hair out and end up having picking at a thing on my face until it's an open wound underneath my beard because of stress. ABC amplifier bias current. A lot of this is over my head. I guess the transconductance amplifier is just creating. It's allowing more through depending on how much voltage you put into it. Did you know V equals I times R? No, that's actually not true. Temperature sensitivity, transconductance, blah, 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 subsequent improvements. I guess, yeah, what the word transconductance. Differential input, like a standard operational amplifier, it has both inverting and non-inverting inputs, power supply lines, and a single output. Unlike the traditional op-amp, it has 2 additional biasing inputs, I-abaca and I-bias. So there's a biasing input and then an I-ABC and a weirdo symbol. Problem is, it needs to fit inside of a power tool. Well, you can get some just off-the-shelf, like small-ish motor controllers off of like Amazon, and they'll be pretty reasonable. Do like 18 volt. If you can fit any of these inside of a power tool, it'll depend on your criteria, like what you're looking for. But I mean, this is a thing, you know, it's not a new problem. So 4 to 35 volts, so that'll operate it during a discharge, although there's no battery protection on this. Maybe the batteries have inherent protection, but you know, it's small enough and you could have variable speed on it. Very simple little problem. Boink. Yeah, there should be no problem if it's a universal DC motor and not some 3-phase monster. if it's a three-phase motor with like advanced electronics, you'd have a harder time because you'd have to get into firmware or just completely redo all the electronics with like a super duper thing. But I mean, like those little breakout boards for, you know, any old random chip that does motor control are prevalent. I've used them before. I've got one in a little box with an AC plug on it. Used them for ages and ages on stuff. All right, let's make a little room here because we're going to be doing all kinds of circuity things today. All manner of circuitry stuff. Let's put that chip right there just for a little bit. Oh yeah, it's this song. We'll need the speakers later on. And hopefully we can get this thing together enough. If I get pissed off enough at this circuit, we might just work on the power supply instead. But I don't think I will. I don't think I will. And then the M303 continues to evade me. I do not know what's wrong with it. I don't know why it's so quiet. If maybe I need to adjust a resistor value, maybe that 22 ohm resistor, the 22R that's in the middle of that circuit and one of the things that breaks, perhaps that's what needs to be kind of tuned. But it was what came out of there was a 22 ohms. So I have one of those controllers and I used it to control a cheap desk fan that had one speed. It worked a charm. Hey, there you go. There you go. There's an endorsement. Ringing, as it were. I'm a little bit hungover today. I'm going to be drinking a lot of caffeinated liquids to try to keep myself going. And then tonight, I'm going to bed early. I got to recover from this. And then we need to work on about 5 to 10 different projects all at once, because I really need the module testing module in order to test these 303s, among other things. If we had the module testing module, it would have been a perfect thing for us to test the mixer as well, because we could then send frequencies in and take frequencies out. We could potentially use the crimes and ornamentation to do the testing there. But Julian needs a very simple little amplifier, a 2-channel stereo mixer. And it's a quick thing that we can do, and we can feel good about ourselves and our ability to put together circuits. So I figure we'll work on it a little bit, and then I need to switch gears back and work on not only the module testing module, but we also need to work on Burn the Subs, because that one's been backburnered for way too long. Burn the Subs needs love. We need to get back to programming a little bit with it, and then we'll intersperse the Burn the Subs streams with AutoCAD sessions designing circuits. So in order to get there, I want to get this mixer tested. The mixer is also going to be something useful for me, because basically what I'll be able to do is take in channels, you know, on something like this. So if I have a couple of them, that'll be nice. The attenuator is all well and good, but yeah, what I figure this mixer is going to be is because Julian he specified headphones. So what I want to do is use kind of like a high quality headphone driver. And so what we'll need to do is we'll need to take in Eurorack levels and we'll need to put them into the headphone amplifier, and then the headphone amplifier will handle the output, basically. It'll make it simpler for us to do the output. There are simpler mixers out there. I mean, I could just literally put in a TL072 and emulate another circuit, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to use mutable instrument circuits, because I need to have the control of 2 volumes with 1 voltage level. Yo, it's a bother. No, it's not. I'm not here. What's up, Taters Games? How you doing? I think maybe Friday, I'll save the soldering stream for Friday. We'll rip up a whole bunch of this power supply, which is a sad thing to do. There's a lot of work. Testing some hardware myself. Hell yeah, brother. Hardware is always fun. We do software so that we can do hardware. That's the purpose of software. At some point, we'll do RC car bodies. I really want to kind of resurrect. I had a lot of fun with that. Maybe I need to reprint another single piece so I can paint it up again and just have a body on that thing. I expected it to be a little bit less accommodating to RC cars outside this season. It is hot out, which is weird. You say Fusion, what's that? Oh, no. That's the CAD software that I use, and they occasionally sponsor a stream here so that I can have their hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of software for free. No, it's not for free. It's for my effort in having dedicated Fusion streams where I declare that I've been sponsored. But best ad them ever got? Yeah, exactly. Listen, I've had users say, I'm using Fusion because of you, Bother. And I'm like, oh no, why would you do that? I'm using Fusion because it's just what was taught to me in college and high school. It's just what Drexel University happened to sort of settle on for their CAD classes and Engineering 101 courses. And so when I got to my adult life, I said, man, I should learn this CAD stuff. It seems to be pretty useful. And I downloaded Rhino, and I looked at Rhino for about 45 seconds before I said, I don't know what the fuck any of this stuff is. And so I closed Rhino, and I looked up AutoCAD, and I got AutoCAD Inventor, and I started pooping around with a pirated copy of AutoCAD Inventor. And I used it a little bit, and then I shelved it for like a decade until I started streaming and 3D printing. And when the 3D printer got underway, I said, I should be able to design my own stuff, because this sucks. I hate other people's designs. And so I started to look into what I could use, and Fusion 360 had absorbed Eagle, which is another piece of software that I used in order to DIY circuits, circuit boards. And so I was like, well, okay, Eagle with a CAD program in it, that seems cool enough. And so that's where I am. Do you have a code for % off? No, I don't. Insofar as the relationship between myself and AutoCAD is, I don't even know how they're checking over whether or not I have that hashtag. They probably Google the hashtag and give me credits for it or whatever. I need to open up, I don't know if there's like a creators system or something like that I open up to see what, if they've counted my stream or not. There was like a town hall that I missed because I was streaming on a Thursday, and that's when they scheduled the meeting, and I was like, well, I'm streaming that day. I'm not gonna skip stream. But anyway, I mean, it's a pretty easygoing relationship. I basically just do a sponsored stream like every now and then, and they re-up my coffee. So I mean, yeah, like it would be awesome if 1,000 people signed up for Fusion and said that they were led there by a Bother, but I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, yeah, I don't have a code. This is the bottom line. I don't have a code. It's a learning curve. I'm trying to learn it from SketchUp. Yeah, one of the things that I really need to learn how to do are all of the interactive things on it. What's up? What's up, time zones? I'm just going to call you that from now on. So one of the things that I don't really know how to do in Fusion is figuring out how to do the motion stuff. I was thinking like, hey, I could do like animations and stuff if I really learned Fusion properly. And then I could like 3D the animation, I could do all kinds of weird stuff. I don't know how to do any of that animation stuff or the interactions of like solid bodies, because you can do some really advanced stuff with their systems. I just haven't bothered to learn it. There's a wealth of information on the internet, though. I mean, given by the fact that them contacting me, my tiny little channel, over this kind of stuff means obviously you're going to be able to just Google it and have 500 how-to videos. Sorry, I'm burpy. I just wolfed down a hoagie, and I shouldn't have eaten it. I should not have eaten it at all. I use Fusion, but when I got into this, they had already bought out Eagle and crippled the hobbyist version. So my feelings about Autodesk are very, very mixed. Yeah, same here. They bought Eagle and they rolled it into their software pretty haphazardly, although they did do it quickly. And then they started to take away features, and they started to limit the free copy. And it's kind of like, you could buy Eagle and then you just own Eagle. But then Autodesk went to a subscription fee. Everyone is doing that, which doesn't even make it better, but that's just one thing to consider, that the whole landscape of software is doing that now. And it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth, but it's just the world we're in now. A lot of things like that lately, huh? That we just have to kind of grin and bear. You don't have to smile. You don't have to smile. Hey, what's up? If anything, it makes it worse. I know, I understand. Fusion has enabled me to do a lot of very interesting stuff. Like their sort of visual presentation of the stuff that you're designing is pretty important to me, a non-engineer. I like things to look right. Hey, Brink GG, how's it going? I like things that look right, and I don't mind that it's a little bit of a simplified drawing. Trisma subbed with Prime for 3 months. Trisma, thank you so much. Thank you for subbing. I appreciate it. You know, it's enabled me to do a lot of stuff with like electronics design that sort of rolls it into a mechanical design very fluidly, and I like that. Can the tester test? Looks done. This is the tester. This is crime. This is crimes, ornamentations, and micro ornamentations and crimes. It's not. We put a software on here called Hemispheres at the goading of a chat member. Chat member was like, try Hemispheres. You can do all kinds of stuff to test other modules. And while I do have crimes currently able to kind of test things, I'm not sure if the quietness of the M303 is because I haven't calibrated crimes or if because there's something wrong with the M303. I'm having trouble with that. Who tests the tester? The test equipment. Things that I bought specifically for their propensity to be test equipment. The Agilent power supply is by a company that really knows electronical stuff, and the Rigol scope is nigh on brand new and able to super duper test stuff. Actually, this is 1 year old. Has a year crossed already? We've gone through a whole year of streams already? Jeez. 1 whole year since I got this this new scope. Yeah, it's most of the streaming has been waiting for it to start up. We've wasted a significant amount of time. It takes a full 59 seconds for this thing to start up. That's crazy. That's a crazy long amount of time. I can't believe it myself. It's like, you know, hey, are we going to use the scope today? I better boot it up before tomorrow. We're going to use the scope tomorrow. I better boot it up today. Who watches the watchers? The shadow knows. What is our circuit going to be? I better find it. Almost long enough to set it up and go get coffee. Yeah, that's pretty much what it would be. Go get coffee, raise a kid, retire. Oh, my scope's turned on now. Yeah, so I don't know why it's called transconductance. I don't know what the reasoning behind the term is. Why are we looking up 3.9? Oh, it's this one. Yeah, we were looking up this guy. I don't know if we need to replace that. I don't think we do. If I do swap in the other one that we have, I can do a little bodge wire just to twist the plus and the minus so that we actually have it in the right configuration and see if that'll boost the signal levels that we get outside of the audio levels that we get from the thing. Because this transistor is the last step before we go into output. It's basically just stationed right there. I mean, I guess I can open up Fusion and show this what I have of the schematic so far. For the actually, I think the better one would be the. Is it on this machine? It might be. Well, let's just take a look. Let's just take a look at what I have. I don't know how much work I got done in transcribing the schematic over to Fusion. And then we got to open up a bunch of mutable instrument circuits today and figure out what our design's going to look like for this mixer. Super slow. My poor computer. One of these days, maybe I just need to build another computer on the side. But one of these days, I do need to just start over with this computer. It's been too long. It's been like 5 years of streaming on this computer, and it's kind of hard on it because when you're streaming, you got to get, you know, rapid, do a bunch of stuff. And so that means there's a bunch of drivers on this computer that are just useless. There's just a lot of stuff on here that's just not good. My computer is very tired of my bullshit. Yeah, I have a question. I have a question, AutoCAD. Why do you always resize the window? Why is it so difficult to remember where I had my window positioned? This is rudimentary. There's probably some weird reason why they don't do it. Okay, so we're looking at this, and then we got the M303, and then I've got, it's so slow. Reverse engineering the M303. And that comes with a schematic. That will open eventually. I haven't gotten much of it down yet. This isn't, oh, so there's like nothing. Okay, well, I need to work on this more in the near future. I guess I need to work on this on my own. Yeah. Nope, not enough there. Not enough there. Update first, though. We're not working on this today. What could you possibly have to upload? Give me my memory back. There we go. Okay, so here, oh God, I think I need to view this with a file browser. I can't just look at the desktop like that. Bottling my strong winter honey ale tomorrow. Very excited. Hopefully it tastes of some honey. You might have to add a little bit back in. Isn't that what they do on most everything that's honey flavored? Maybe there is a little subtle honey flavor in there, though. I still need to make that mead. I would have had that mead by now. Oh, God, I'm so disorganized. I need to, like, wake up early in the morning, heat up those 2 little things of honey, and just drop them into a carboy. I need to go to the grocery store and get water is what I need to do. The 2 jugs are just outside of the shop door, though. So, yes, Father has enormous jugs. That he does. DOS Micro, diode ladder. This one's different, I think. Yeah, this is the Hajiwo diode ladder. Which, you know, hey, that's pretty good. Pretty good. What the fuck is this shit? Edit your images using AI. Oh, Microsoft. If I had one last straw, you've definitely broken it. Mark II. M303 schematic trace PNG. Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the whole XCF drawing. That doesn't have any circuit elements to it. Module tester. Compressor settings. Huh. I guess I don't have the M30. You know, it might have actually been physically drawn. Where did that schematic go? I thought I had a beginning of a schematic for it. This computer at the moment does not have access to the file server, so there's a couple things saved onto the desktop that I don't have backed up. What about, like, what was open in MS Paint last? Let's open another MS Paint. Did shift-click not do anything? Oh, yeah, it did. Test for Moog, diode ladder, RP4060, untitled. That's not it. Yeah, so I don't know where the M303 schematic went. I think maybe Fusion was where I was building it. Doing things like this, you know, I wasn't really doing things like this. For the module tester, obviously doing an MS Paint is necessary. And actually, I need to do, we need to save a new one. We need the one that I just had open. Cancel. No. Open a new window. Don't just do that. I love how it pops under. I've always wanted it to pop under. Save as, and this one is going to be the JMixer. And I guess I'm going to put it in the M303 folder. Just for now. Julian Mixer. Oops. Parentheses. Working. What's up, Copper? That's essentially it. With a knob for each of these, and a knob for this. Still figuring out the disk drive. Why did you buy it? Can't watch Scrubs yet. Oh, that's why you bought it. I don't know what you're supposed to do if you buy a disk drive and it's the wrong region. I don't remember. Used to have firmwares that we could hack stuff like that with. Region coding is probably the dumbest fucking DRM I've ever heard of in my entire life. Absolutely ridiculous. Some of the worst. MS Paint is the best CAD software. I will die on that hill. I will die on that hill. I will diet on that hill. I'll at least stand on the hill. Maybe I'll climb up the hill. It has no region, and the DVD doesn't like that. What do you do about that? I mean, is there like software that unregionizes things? I don't know how that works. I don't know how hacking any of that stuff works. You're probably a couple good Google searches from finding a forum post from 2008 that'll maybe detail how to get around regions. What's up, Vault of Shapur? Listen to DJ Everyday right now. I've got both chats up. Somebody came in here and redacted all of their messages. Could try to read up on firmware flashing. I have no idea. Back in, way back in the day, like 1999, 2000s, I reflashed one disk drive, and it was scary because this was like a 59X. I don't know. It was a CD burner, a CDRW burner, and it was like one of the more expensive things that I've ever bought for my computer with my own money, with summer job money. And one of the things to do to it was to reflash it with a newer firmware that, I don't know if it unlocked features or something. I don't know why I wanted to do this. It made it work with the computer, but you had to reboot onto a floppy disk, and the floppy disk had its own OS on it or whatever, and you had command line, and you say to, okay, go ahead and flash this drive, and it says drive detected here, and we're going to reflash it. Don't touch the mouse or you could ruin the drive. And I was like, what, huh? What? I had like an optical, like the Microsoft optical mouse, like the Microsoft, whatever it is, IntelliMouse at the time. And the thing was optical, so it would detect everything, every kind of movement. And you never knew whether or not it would move with the mouse still. I didn't know. So I was like, and so I couldn't touch anything while this thing did a scroll bar like for a long time. And it was very, very stressful. But it ended up successfully flashing the drive. But man, that was like, if I bricked my CDR, I wouldn't be able to burn CDs for the car. It's like very important stuff. Burning CDs was awful. You'd wait like an hour and a half for your CD to burn, and then it would go wrong at the very end because there was a dust mote somewhere near it. Watching another interesting bother live. Heck yeah. I almost cursed. I think I cursed earlier today, though, in this stream. And I think, isn't it like the first minute or something? And so we're 34 minutes in. So I think I'm allowed to curse now, but that's how people flash GPU biases to this day. They boot into a live DOS instance to flash them. Some BIOSes allow you to flash it from the OS, from Windows now, don't they? Some. Not all. These take longer to rip than Blu-rays. It's crazy. Huh. I guess those Blu-rays operate pretty quickly. one of the cooler things that I've done in the past was take the HD DVD drive. Because remember, Sony insisted upon Blu-ray, which is just one of the more awful things that Sony's done. They fight tooth and nail at a new media type so that they can get the patents on it. So they came up with Blu-ray, and HD DVD did exactly what Blu-ray did to the T. It's just that Sony won this time because I guess capitulating to corporations is kind of the direction that the whole planet's going towards. But so Sony now has the patent on Blu-ray and everybody's Blu-ray drive. So I had an HD DVD drive, and the movie we had was the King Kong movie with Jack Black in it. And so we took the whole thing apart and just plopped the CD directly onto the HD DVD drive for the Xbox. And you could see the CD, like the read head would go through the CD, and it would start with a red laser and focus it down and go, oh, this is HD DVD, and it would fire up the blue laser, and you'd be able to see this blue dot sort of traveling across the top of the CD as it was being read. PlayStation killed HD DVD. Yeah, it became a very cheap Blu-ray player, and so people just were like, a game console comes with a Blu-ray player. Oh, it's nice and cheap. Kind of wish another IBM DVD situation occurred. Yeah, they let Sony win. I guess Sony lost money off of all those PlayStation 2 sales or something. I collect HD DVDs, but I have no player. You're like the modern equivalent of a Betamax collector who doesn't have a player. That's a little strange. That's strange. Blu-ray's the entire reason we got a PS3. I mean, you're not alone. You are not alone. It's a lot of people. A lot of people. People I know. People you know. In fact, it's you! Yeah, there's just a ton of that stuff going around. I saw Betamax player at a state sale, but no tapes. You guys were made for each other. My PS2 blue lens got good old times. Yeah, man. Those were the times. I always had roommates that had PlayStations. I never really had PlayStations. Oh, you got sent in a screenshot of an estate sale listings. I got to sign up for more stuff like that. I'm not as active like looking for estate sales and like yard sales and stuff. Now that like the pandemic's over and stuff like that, I could really go for some yard sale finds. That would be kind of fun to do. If we could find like stupid electronics at various, yard and estate sales. I haven't really gone outside all that much aside from walking the dog. And I probably need to build up some stuff to get my ass on grass. I'm certainly not losing weight from the dog walking. That's for damn sure. Government surplus websites. We used to love stealitback.com, which was a police auction website. So for like, if you're making a fish tank, you're like, man, I wonder who is using a lot of like bright lights that I would need in a fish tank. Well, people who grow pot, people growing drugs use a lot of big bright lamps. And so we were able to get everything we need for like fish tank keeping, with all those wonderful UV frequencies coming out of them. For plant growth in a fish tank, we got it from Steal It Back. You get it nice and cheap, and you build a hood around it of your fish tank. It was pretty funny. But yeah, you can get like radar detectors and stuff like that there too. I don't know how good that stuff is anymore. Like if you need a lot of like 500 laptops from the school, you can go to those sites, but you've got to travel all the way to pick it up because they don't like actually figuring out shipping. Although, like most things, that got kind of flooded by like wholesale, terrible, cheap goods. Impounded cars, yeah. I saw like one of those FBI crime scene camper vans. It was like a conversion to be a conference room on there, and that was pretty cool. I was like, what could I do with that? Like, you can do all kinds of cool stuff with something like that. But it was all just a little bit old and crappy. So, and then if you want like pavement resurfacing equipment, it's on those sites too. My brother bought himself like a grader of some kind. No, what was it? It was like a snowplow slash mowing thing. It's just the weirdest piece of industrial equipment that he uses at his house for like mowing the lawn. Pretty crazy. But you can get those. You can get all the liquidation and police auction stuff on those websites. It's pretty funny. Yeah, the dot tractor. Yeah, that kind of thing. It had like, it has this like forward cab that like leans forward or whatever, so you can like really see what's going on under the cab. Oh, I see. You just got meme movies. Shrek 3. That was the Sherlock and Shrek crossover. Shrek 3 last week at the thrift store. That's pretty funny. The only meme movie I have is Space Cop, which is basically just a YouTuber inside joke in film form. One of y'all knew, I don't know if they're here right now, but one of y'all knew the mutable instruments instrument that we should pick apart in order to make this mixer. I don't know if I still have that open. No, I don't. It's all 303 stuff. Yeah, it's all 303 stuff. Oh, let's that one. And then we do mutable instruments. Might be Veils, since I searched Veils. I remember them mentioning it, no clue which one it was. Yeah, I don't remember which one it was. I don't think harp is a module. They're all plural. Try Veils. Vials? Okay, Veils is sort of a cascade mixer. It's like each channel kind of mixes down into each subsequent channel, and it uses a lot of op amps. So we've got input on one side, control coming from over here, and then we put it into, and these are OPA 169s. That's a little bourgeois for our tastes. And then at the end, if nothing is plugged into it, it passes the mix on to the next channel, which is not what we're going to do with ours. The question about the other thing that Julian wanted was a normalization of some kind, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to do normalization. Like if you only plug in the left or the right, I guess it'll still function the same. You don't have to plug in both left and right. But then normalizing one of the channels, all I can think of is that you would achieve it through a potentiometer on the back part of the panel. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna get a soda. Use the LM324 later. That's here. But I think that's for normalizing this. So I don't know what's going on with that. AREF, negative 2.5 volts. Boom, boom, boom. I do want to find a slightly newer design. God, it would be great, man, if I was a popular enough streamer and just to be just like a total gremlin with this knock feature that Twitch has. I have too much integrity for it. But Twitch has this new system where you can knock on another streamer's stream and like, I guess they can pull you in and you can do like a co-stream kind of thing and it like mixes the chats. I don't know. I don't know how that feature works, but you could be a total gremlin with it and like knock on people's streams. You could ding dong dash them and knock on their stream and then end your stream. So they're like, oh, Bother's looking at my, let's open up Bother, let's get Bother in here. And I'm not streaming. Like mix them into mono and send them out LR. That's not quite what we're going to be doing. I'm not going to bamboozle my friend. This is a project for my friend. I'm not going to bamboozle my friend. Is this supposed to tell you where you've got the mix set to? Because you've got two... Oh, no, that's a diode. Huh. No, no, no. You shut the hell up, AI. Nah, we won't do that. We'll do it our own way. Basically this. This is basically the circuit. This is the clipping detector. And or just activity detector. UGBRB? Wow. Geez. I'm so happy that I entertained you. You have to leave in a huff. With a reference voltage, and if the voltage goes over it, then the LED lights up. Yeah, that's what I mean. We'll essentially be doing that with 10 volts. The negative 10 volt reference, I guess we could use for that. Although we don't necessarily even need that. It's just reference to whatever. I mean, these are going to ground with R88 and 1.2K. I'm not sure how we tune those, but I do want to have a clipping indicator so that you know you've turned it up too far. I guess that's what the diode's doing. That's a 1N4 and 4.8 though. That's just for opposite current protection, I guess. Or maybe it's to allow current to flow back that way? No. If this goes negative, then current comes from over here, and this doesn't light up. We'll figure it out. We'll start looking at this in a little bit. The CD, oh wow, did the mix really run out? How long have I been talking to you guys? 46 minutes! Oh, dear God. Oh, I can't fast forward on SoundCloud these days. This is more DJ every day playing in the background. All right. Yeah, we're going to try to ignore the world at large and work on circuits, because circuits are what we know, and definitely something that we can manipulate nice and easily manipulatable. They listen to us, and generally when we build stuff correctly, it works. We have a little bit of discovery to do here, though. SoundCloud removing fast forward. Back to radio, boys. I know, right? Well, you know, they don't play the music that I play. Yes, I'm aware. I'm acutely aware of the production stuff that's going on. Rest assured, if somebody is streaming generally and they have an audience and maybe they're partnered with the platform, that they know exactly what they're broadcasting at all times. It's one of the crucial things about streaming, that you know what you're broadcasting. Is somebody going out there and finding people to make that comment every stream? I think they are. I think there's like a secret underground network that's acting against me specifically. The anti-bother network. It has to exist, right? Because I'm important. It has to be a real thing. That has to be why. Everything's out of my circumstances, and it's up to somebody else who has wronged me. That's got to be it. UFOs are real. Waiting for the drop. Where's the drop? Where's the drop? The XQC of electronics. I don't know about that. I don't think I really. My thoughts on it. Maybe we should go and look at this circuit and see what we can do. A frisbee is a UFO until it hits a viewer's face. That's true. A mylar balloon is a UFO until it's identified. UFOs are actually real. They're just not what you think they are. They're not, and by that I don't mean, I definitely don't mean that they are alien technology. They're just something in the sky that we don't know what the fuck it is. Like, and most of the time in these fucking UFO videos, which I do enjoy watching UFO videos, but I am a skeptic to the end. A lot of the time, if you'll notice, the camera's moving with the UFO. They're like, it darted suddenly and something in the sky can't do that. Yeah, no shit, buddy. You're looking at a reflection. Most of the time you're looking at a reflection. There was one from actually the pilot seat of a 747 looking along the side of the front glass, and it was one of the side pieces of glass, and they saw a dot in the dark sky. And it was moving in a most peculiar way, but you'll notice that it's moving like it was a reflection from a camera moving as well. People are unaware that cameras can see infrared, and they're unaware that their phones might be outputting a lot of infrared. Like if you're in if everything goes to shit and you're trying to sneak around and you know that somebody who's trying to get you has night vision, you need to put your iPhone more than away. If you put it in your pocket, it'll light up your pocket like the night sky with infrared. That Face ID system puts out a bunch of little point lights of infrared light. And it is like a goddamn glow stick under night vision, the iPhone, that is. It's insane. And so people don't really know that, and so they start recording stuff with their cameras, and maybe the iPhone's putting out some you know, things you can't see, some light you can't see, and it makes a weird phenomenon, and then all the conspiracies fire up. It's nice to attribute order to something that might be chaos, but there's a lot more chaos than I think a lot of people think. It's comforting. Yeah, it puts little IR feelers out into the world. It starts kneading your face with its infrared, and it's like, ooh, I know that face. I know those curves. Turn off your phone attention sleep mode to increase battery life significantly. Isn't that's just using the accelerometer, isn't it? I think that sleep mode messes with my my Android APS system, the auto pancreas system, because when I go to bed, sometimes my phone won't really do much for my diabetes. Like if I go to bed with a hyperglycemic level, it'll be hyperglycemic when I wake up. So it's either doing something. I think it might actually detect when I'm sleeping and back off of the aggressive treatment, which I really don't want it to do. What's up, Kavorka Designs? It can actually see under the skin many layers deep. This I know from the near-infrared spectroscopy that I studied for a while in senior year of high school. It's basically a machine that you put on the front of your head, and since the front of the brain is the last thing to have evolved, it deals with a lot of your higher order thinking and learning and emotions and sort of not reasoning, but like what we were looking for is the emotional aha moment when you figure out the solution to a problem and your brain activity drops because you don't have to think about it anymore. So with near-infrared light-emitting diodes, 850 and 920 nanometers, or was it 730, 850? I think it was 730, 850 nanometers. Two different frequencies of diode. One frequency of diode, I think it's the 850, goes through skin and bone and guts and stuff and bounces off of blood. The other frequency, the 730, goes through skin and bone and guts and butts and stuff, and it bounces off of oxygenated blood. So you have a volume and you have an oxygenation. The brain, a little cluster of vascular stuff at the back of the brain, divvies up where all that blood goes, so you use the same amount of blood at all times. But your brain dilates and constricts in order to deliver blood to the parts of the brain that are being used. So you get two little factors in there, and you can tell when somebody, and by the way, you can't deactivate the brain to calibrate it. So you have to have somebody like sit there and meditate and think about almost nothing. And then you get a baseline, and then you can see in the regions of the frontal lobe when they're actually working on a problem. You can see more blood go to that area, and more of that blood is being utilized in order to think about boobs. So yeah, it was a cool thing. It's something that I did in high school. I always wanted to build that for this stream. But back in our day, when we had the device, our version of the device was this silicon rubber puck, and there were two of them, and you would put them on your head, and then you'd wrap your head like a freaking turban with this gauze as tightly as possible to try to get a good interface so that you would actually, the light would get to where it needs to go, and it would be red where it needs to be red. It was a very unreliable technological solution. I don't know what they have nowadays for that. The technology still exists. It was a little bit of a solution in search of a problem, though. There were a lot of different, like, for a little bit, they thought it would be a lie detector, because when you're thinking about a lie, you're also thinking about the truth. And when somebody accepts the lie, your brain activity flies down. But yeah, I don't know. Joke's on your brain. I take a copious amount of caffeine. Well, that's what I'm completely sustained on right now. That's what we are basically using in order to stream today, is an amount of caffeine that is able to sustain what looks like natural life, but it's really just a twitching piece of jello. Lion will hunt, bird will fly, man will wonder why. Lion must sleep, Bird must land, and man must tell himself he understand. Something like that. Eyes low and to the left is often a lie. That's totally unreliable. Completely unreliable. It's as unreliable as the actual lie detector. The actual lie detector, and if you're ever getting a lie detector test, you don't let them know that you know this. Do not let them know. Go, oh yeah, I've heard about the lie detector test. It's kind of scary. And you keep to yourself the fact that the lie detector test doesn't work. It's not admissible in court. The whole purpose of the lie detector test is that the lie detector test is the bad cop. The lie detector test is the bad cop. Any number of fidgeting normally happens during a lie detector test, but you will always fail the first one if you're going for like a government position. Basically, the lie detector looks at a bunch of biological phenomena that are not attributed directly to lying, and it looks at them all at once, and so it will give an interviewer an excuse. They say, you know, you can tell me anything, man. I'm just packing the machine up. That's what they get you. They make you trust them. They go, oh man, this machine, I don't know, man. I'm just supposed to give you this lie detector test. It's just, it has a funny reading here. And then they get to ask you a little bit more about a subject and see if you've got circuitous reasoning and if you're kind of making up a little bit too much or talking a little bit too much about something. You know, all of these human tells for when you're lying, they interpret themselves, and then the lie detector is just something that they're able to use as a foil. And it works somehow. I once did one of these things where they were training the people on how to deposit the GPS detectors on cars, like where to plant them and what to do. And there was this one guy there who I guess was the instructor or something, and he was this completely laconic man. He was very short spoken. He looked like a cowboy, and he was just like, yep. And I found myself telling this guy my life story for some reason because I had to garner approval from this person. He was like the perfect FBI agent because it was like I felt just this weird compulsion to just talk to this guy. And I was like, whoa, hold on, stop. Why am I giving this guy all these details? Like, I don't even like him that much. Like, everybody has to like me. I'm a streamer. Everyone must like me. Please. So yeah, I noticed that of myself, and I was like, wow, that is an effective thing if you're an FBI agent, to have people just like have to have your approval just because it's human nature. GPS on license plate. Who looks there? You're never gonna get any information from me on that kind of stuff. The subconscious doesn't lie. It's weird the way that that worked. I felt this compulsion to have the person like have a positive approval of me, and he was devoid of any kind of human interaction ability. Like he just didn't let on to anything. It was weird. Doesn't it depend on a person's brain? Some people are very good at lying, yes. And if you're very good at lying, you might do just fine lying on a lie detector test. That's what they don't tell you. And they get really mad if you know how a lie detector works. So you don't want them mad. You don't want the lie detector people to be mad at you. You just want to be boring. There was I had an uncle that was doing some such project with government, and they all had to get lie detector tests, and everyone in the office failed at first. Silly Russell, what's up? That is as creepy as the Vatican's anime mascot. Creepy and weird, and no, it's not. It's not that bad. It's just off-putting. I wouldn't expect you to give those details. I know stuff, chat, but it's boring stuff. It's really, listen, the thing about government secrets is they are just tear-jerkingly boring. It's very, very boring. There's nothing there it's not cool. Like, Hollywood makes it cool because that sells. Are we doing weird multi-mote faces? You can if you want. I mean, I've never said not to. All right, let's get the music out of here and let me explain what I'm doing, because I need your approval. I need everyone's approval at all times, constantly. I need to have everyone's approval because I was never told I was a good kid. That's not true. I got told that almost constantly. Welcome to the disappointed adult version of the gifted kid in high school. Everybody thought I would make a fortune off of electronics and be world famous. I had a science teacher say that when you accept the Nobel Peace Prize, make sure to mention me. And I'm like, and here I am. Woo! All right, anyway, you guys are Stop it. Now I'm putting the Bosch on this. I don't know who the fuck these people are. I thought you guys were going to do cutesy faces, not like some moist people. They look moist. Why do they look moist? Anyway, yeah, so here I am. We're doing electronics today, and Julian phoned me up one day, and he said, oh, bother. And I said, why did you call me that? He called me up, and he said, hey, I need a mixer. I need a mixer. And I said, why don't you go buy a mixer? And he said, no, you can't find it anywhere. I need to have 2 inputs that are stereo. Chat, you guys can keep doing what you're doing, but you're definitely getting turned off on the overlay for just a second here. Bonk. Okay, so yeah, anyway, Julian phones me up and he says, I need a mixer. And I said, you know, you can just phone up a party line and find, like, you know, there might be like an ice cream social somewhere. He needed a mixer, and he needed a 2-channel stereo mixer into 1 headphone output, right? And then he mentioned something about normalization of left and right, and I don't know what that means. I think that's more of a digital thing than something that I can do in analog circuits. So I started putting this together. I figure that it's going to be some kind of an analog circuit. It's a mixer. Mixers are fairly common in analog mixers. It's Eurorack, obviously, so it's plus minus 10 volts. And then I wanted to have some kind of a specific headphone driver on the output. So left, right, both mono 3.5 millimeter jacks mixed into a single TRRS 3.5 millimeter jack. And it's got to be 2 HP. Is HP the Eurorack standard? Whatever. 2 Eurorack spaces. Eurorack is derived from telecom and instrumentation rack technology, and so I don't know what the origin of the rack spacing is or whatever, but it's like this tiny little slice. And so basically what I can do is in 10 by 100 millimeters, I need to fit 2 knobs, 4 mono Thonky Kongs, and 3 knobs, 4 mono Thonky Kongs, and 1 stereo Thonky Kong. And that's about the limit of what you can fit. That's about the limit of what you can actually fit in 2 HP on the 100 millimeter height. The thing is, there are mixers out there that use the 2 HP standard. We looked at one from Synthrotech, which is apparently not kind of a cool place to buy your synth stuff. But the Synthrotech module, rather, it had a lot of electronics on it, like a lot. So we can fit a lot of stuff on the back of a 2 HP module within the SO standard. I'm going to start banning people for posting faces. I said you could post faces, but I didn't mean that you could continuously post them forever. I thought you would do a 1-line face and not a bunch of creepy-ass fucking... All right, anyway. Chat's permanently going to get disabled. I'm going to ban everybody from my chat, and then it'll just be me. So, anywho. We're making a mixer. We figured out, using AutoCAD, that everything could fit onto the 100 millimeter by 10. And let me actually pull that up just so that I can show you guys. So let's open up Fusion. Yeah, you guys, like, just because I let you do something doesn't mean you need to I wish Fusion would just remember the size of the window. You just remember the size of the window? Is that difficult to do? All right, we just booted it up a minute ago. I don't think I'm going to update it yet. We could sit here and wait for it to update, because every single time you boot up Fusion, it has to update for some reason. There is dark mode on the horizon, though. I heard a rumor. It's in the beta version. So if I went to beta testing, I could actually do dark mode. God damn it. All right, fine. Let's update now. Maybe it'll have dark mode. 3 lines of code. Yeah, it's just like the basic how to build a program starter pack should have that in there. Under paid license. I'm under the paid license, Celia. The reason that we're going to do occasional hashtag Autodesk ad streams is that I have, so do you. Really? I'll check it out in just a minute. We're updating right now. But yeah, the reason that we're doing hashtag AutoCAD add streams every now and again is because by doing so, I earn myself a full copy of the $400 and something a year software. Try holding shift as you resize, drag, resize, close, and reopen. Works in many softwares. I'm not sure if it works in this one, but I don't want to close and reopen right now because we're updating our software. We got the continual rolling updates from having a subscription-based sort of online software. No, it's, well, okay, well, that's not how hashtags. You don't want to have a weird hashtag. You want to have just a normal hashtag AutoCAD add. That way people can search for it. AutoCAD hashtag add. $79, $82, $83, $84. Come on. We're going to have weird frame rate issues until this thing opens up. Come on, bud. So what we did is we used AutoCAD in order to plot out where all that stuff is. And then at some point, we're going to actually put down electronics and traces and stuff. As far as I know, because the beginning of this whole project was, can I do this? Am I able to do this? And we saw that Synthrotech device, the 2HP, also their whole environment is about being as minimal as possible. That's how Julian does his Eurorack setup, because he travels with it at times. He brings it over here and stuff. So all of his modules have to be super duper duper small. They're about, minimum is like 10 millimeter wide. So 10 millimeter wide, you can fit some of the audio jacks on that, and you can fit some knobs on it. So you can build all kinds of different stuff. 2HP, that's their whole philosophy. That's all they do. 2HP is a website that sells synthesizer modules that are designed by them. They're all very small. And so we're trying to make a mixer that fits into that criteria, that fits into that Julian size synthesizer. So the first step was figuring out, well, can I do this? And so part of can I do this is figuring out how to minimize the footprints of all of our stuff and get it all onto one board, because we have the minimum need for the 2 inputs, the 4 inputs, the 2 knobs, and then a knob and an output. And so it turns out that is the maximum number of things that I can fit inside of one of these, on one of these panels. Oh my God, there we go. Let's go, restart. Let's F and go. Start. Okay, there it goes. Ah, there was a schematic underneath it. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if they've rolled dark mode into this one. It would be nice. It sure would be nice. I'd almost rather they not concentrate on dark mode and fix a bunch of other stuff, but it'll be good to have. That way I'm not blasting. And there it resizes the window. I'm not blasting everybody's retina into space every time I boot up the software. I went to a new background. I'm no longer using the pure white background. I was doing Autodesk at night with all the lights turned off and only the track light on, and it was blasting my retina out. So I'm like, all right, let's try one of the modes that doesn't ruin all of the color of everything, because there's darker modes than this, but they kind of ruin the like color space that you're looking at. You're set with the latest update. Okay. Whoa. Let's minimize this, or get this so that we can see it. Autodesk really likes to use the width of your monitor, and because we're streaming and I've got the vanity pane up, we don't have the luxury of having all that room. Also, I like to have a window here where we can actually I can show you guys stuff. Can't even find the blue background you have? So if you go, the one that I'm using is right here in this sort of visual environment thing, and the environment is all the way down here. It's River Rubicon. So you might have this. I use dark mode Discord, but I've been moving back to light mode for a lot of other stuff since dark mode feels like an afterthought. Yeah, there's OLED mode in Discord that I used to use on my phone. I think they disabled it though. So hold on, let me pull this over to another window just in case I accidentally reveal account information. And I want to look at my settings, so preferences. Space Mouse drivers in there. Would it be under General? Start my Fusion and design, default document design, default orient Z up. Show tooltips, reverse zoom direction, graphics driver, offline cache, nah. Design history, unit and visual display. Oh, unit and value display, sorry. Graphics. Performance. I don't see a dark mode thing on here. I think I've been misled. Yeah, I've been misled. It'll eventually be worked in. That's so much better. So you found it? You got River Rubicon? I use light mode in a lot of the stuff that I do here because I've got a giant light sitting right next to here. If we go to this view. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Go to this view, you can see over here in the stream setup, I have a gigantic light sitting right next to my face. It makes my skin look supple. But because I have that, you know, my pupils are pinpricks, and so I have to put stuff into light mode. If using Samsung go-to settings, tap the build several times to go into the dev options. There's an instruction on how to go into the dev options in AutoCAD, but this is not Android. It does not work the same. So yeah, I'm just looking through like menus and stuff, and I'm just not seeing it. So I'm gonna close that. In overall appearance, visual style, nah. Environment effects, object visibility, camera, ground plane offset. None of that stuff affects this. That's all those other views. Yeah, no. Okay, so we don't have it yet. It'll eventually come to fruition. It will come to fruition. Is that something about a phone? I don't remember. Yeah, so anyway, in AutoCAD, basically what we did is figure out whether or not I could actually build this thing. Everything seems to be leaning towards my being able to build it, but this could have nipped the whole project in the bud. And I could then tell Julian to go kick rocks. That's the phrase. But either way, it's actually working out. And the more it works out, the worse it gets for me. The more worried I get about this whole thing. We made a 3D design out of an electronics design where I basically just threw down the components and then I refined until we were able to create this sort of space-bending design. Now, one thing that I don't know how to do yet, and I need to figure out, is how to make those cuts so that JLPCB will cut the board for me in this manner. There are tools that I can use in order to do that in the sort of board layout, and the thought was, well, these are minimized potentiometers, and I'm only going to use them in these 2 HP modules, and I'm probably going to use them a lot in these 2 HP modules, so why not make the part have the cutout on it? And I don't know how that works. I don't know how the cutouts work with the PCB software, and I don't know how the cutouts work with the manufacturer. So we're just leaving it as it is, and I guess if I actually ordered these tomorrow, I would use a microfile in order to just file down 0.5 millimeter on each side. Because it's really a 9mm board that fits into the clamps of these potentiometers. We're doing a 10mm board because, my God, space is at an utter premium. It's actually kind of scary how little space I have. Now, SO electronics are going to work all right. We'll be able to do that just fine. Traces near the edge, we're going to have to put in all the JLPCB DRU, the design rules, in order to dictate how we're able to run traces on the board. I will not accept a 4-layer board. I don't want to do this in 4 layers. I want to do this in 2 layers, which will be its own set of headaches. So we've got headaches upon headaches upon headaches. I've squished these pins to as close as I can get them to the device. These are even under the device just a little bit. And then we have very small indeed LEDs sitting on the board in order to indicate clipping. So there will be a hole in the front of the board that will have a visible LED, except when you move your head, it'll get a little weird like that. That, or I can put like a little piece of clear plastic on the hole in the front face. I know Julian's going to want to make his own front face, but I mean, yeah, we could do that in order to get it to kind of light up that clipping indicator. Because if you have that little pinhole, you can move back and forth and your LED will become differently visible. It's going to kind of like focus the LED on one thing. But if I put a material there then you're just looking at that material being illuminated by the LED. So that's one thought on that. But all of this considered, I don't have a schematic, and I don't have a mixer that I like. I don't have anything that sort of equates to a proper mixer. So what we need to do is we need to find the headphone driver chip, which I have in another computer. We'll just search DigiKey for it. The headphone amplifier chip. What I want to do is put like a nice headphone amplifier chip in there, and then I don't have to worry about, well, what's the specification? What exactly voltages do I need here? What's this going to look like? All I have to worry about is that I'm giving it the right signals that it can then have a volume control on and all that stuff. So we'll look that up and figure out what that is, what that chip's going to be. And then we need to figure out what the power supply is going to be like for this thing. We basically have one 5-pin connector on this that we'll be able to plug into. And I'm limiting myself to this board. If we are absolutely backed into a corner, I do have space on this to put standoffs, and then I could have a second board sitting on the back end. But I would really like to kind of just make it work within this. And so that means we're going to need something kind of simple. It shouldn't have a lot of op amps because we're not going to have a lot of room for op amp chips. I mean, a TLO7-4 might be able to fit right here, but the TLO7-2 is probably going to be our bread and butter for this whole thing. And we'll just use circuits that we know. And so in doing so, we're going to look at mutable instruments. Mutable instruments is usually the typical go-to design resource for us, because Mutable Instruments made legendary modules. I mean, people praise these things to and fro. What? I should have had a phrase for that, but I just don't. All right, anyway, Mutable Instruments. Everybody loves Mutable Instruments. So this one is called Channel 4. No, this one is what? Blinds? Which one do we open? Veils. Veils is one of them. Blinds is another one. Let's see if we can open. Why chip just use vacuum tubes? Because we don't have enough power. I would use vacuum tubes if we had enough power. So blinds, braid edges, volts, peaks, clouds, shelves, shades, branches, links, rings, shelves. There's another shelves. Blah, 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 blah. Beads? No. Blades? No. Veils. Oh, no, there's blinds. There's blinds. Scale, invert, and offset up to 4 modulation signals. Mix up to 4 CVs or audio sources. Multiply 2 audio sources with adjustable carrier rejection. Who can do more? Who can do more, do less? Huh? Each channel can be used as a plain voltage-controlled amplifier. That seems to be kind of close to what we want. The main scheme for what we're going to do is basically we need a knob that, let me just make that a dotted line. Hold on. That's the worst dotted line I've ever seen. I want to redraw this. So we have .5 mono. And that will be our right channel. And then we have the same thing again. But that's going to be our L channel. And then we have the same thing again down here. And then we have our output. And that's going to be 3.5 TRRS, which is tip ring actually TRS, tip ring shield. Tip ring shield, and that's LR. So what we're going to have is we're going to have the right channels get mixed. Oh God, that's terrible. And we're just drawing amplifiers as triangles right now. And the left channels get mixed. Actually, what I should do, I should draw this whole thing just once. Oops. So let me make a little bit more room in between them. A little bit more room in between them because we're going to put a control in there. So right and left, coming in here, coming in hot. And those two will be individually amplified, but they will have the same amplification control. So that's our knob and a dotted line to indicate that they're controlling that. As the worst dotted line in the history of dotted lines. Anyway, so we have two of those, two channels of that. And those channels are then going to come together as left and right individually. Yoink. And those get their own amplification. It'll have its own knob. Ah. And those go to the TRRS. Sorry, TRS. TRRS is the one with the microphone. Used to use those a lot in cell phone stuff relating to bombs. Anyway, so yeah. So that's essentially it. And then I want to add a, what is it, a clipping indicator. So I don't know where I'm going to add that. I mean, I guess on the input, but if I basically want it so that you turn it up until it clips and then you turn it back a little bit from there in order to normalize the two channels. 1, 2. We don't need that. I don't need to do that. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I guess it would be L and R, but it would be channel 1 and channel 2 would have a clipping indicator. So maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe I need to have a little bit of flow control on that. How's that going to work? How do I do that without ruining my L's and R's? Because it's going to be going to one LED, but what do I do about this? What? Hi, Lawn Dog. Why do you YouTubers delete all your messages? I don't understand why people are doing that. It's not you, it's other people, but yeah, so anyway, we need that to happen, but I'm starting to think like, well, if I have a volume knob here, I want a clipping indicator on the volume knob. So if my audio levels go above and below plus minus 10 volts, you'll know. I have some split keyboards that use TRS cables to connect the two sides. Yeah, it's because you got the right, well, actually, that's 3. You have power, ground, and then 2 signals, which is nice to do like a differential and keep noise from getting into stuff. Or if you just do like USB to the other one. Redditor scrambling, useful answers. Oh yeah, when they do that. I understand why they do that, because they don't want AI scraping their comment, their helpful comment. But what it does is it means you're reading through comments and then you suddenly just get gobbledygook and you're like, what the hell? Oh, they scrambled their answer. Oh well. Because when you delete it straight up, it deletes it. When you write over it, it writes over it, and so it's permanently there as written over, and your original answer goes away, apparently. Although, to be fair, I'm sure that in the back end of Reddit, they probably have the original comment, but before the edit. So how do we do a clipping indicator off of 2 channels? Because I mean, I could do it here, but what I really need is just like a one-way clipping indicator. So it would have to go into whatever that clipping op-amp circuit is that has the diode on it in one direction. Because these are audio signals, so they're going to be plus minus of whatever the voltage is. So then whatever that is with the resistor to ground. And then how does that go into the other circuit without ruining it? Do I need like 100 ohm? And then you'd have another one to the other channel. And then if those 2 channels, now we're just looking at the LR mix overall. So this would be more of a clipping indicator on this one than anywhere else. And then my other thought is that I want to have a headphone amp. So this is a headphone amp. Oh God. I gotta write slow. Now we can just sub in a regular amplifier for now, just to do our circuit testing. I don't know how far we're really going to get into this, but if I can use the headphone amp that I've sort of selected for this, I'm going to need to order it. Are we going to need some kind of audio chip for the signal output, given what you're requesting? And if so, how can we locate such a chip? Glad you asked. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm looking for a headphone amp because Julian wants this to be for headphones. So this would be, quote unquote, headphones. So in his request for it to be headphones, now keep in mind, headphones, speakers, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Although he specified headphones, it's not necessarily going to be headphones. It could be anything. Headphones require very little voltage, though, compared to the rest of modular synthesizer stuff. So it's really going to be attenuation that we're after. Yeah, the original comments say for law enforcement purposes. I wouldn't doubt that. Boop, boop, boop. So we go to DigiKey. What I know of DigiKey is that I can probably just search headphone amp and get a bunch of chips. Audio amplifiers, audio amplifier evaluation boards, expansion boards, evaluation demonstration boards and kits. By the way, the DigiKey is the worst place to get an evaluation board from, although they have been carrying things like SparkFun and Adafruit Electronics now. So it's like full circle. Adafruit and SparkFun were websites that sort of dumbed down DigiKey and had cheap, like they had affordable breakout boards and stuff. Then they would buy their parts from the big supplier. They would make these little breakout boards. And instead of going to DigiKey and getting completely overwhelmed by their stock and the prices, you would go to SparkFun and Adafruit. Well, now DigiKey carries Adafruit and SparkFun. So if you're looking for other like evaluation boards and stuff, and you're not like a professional company that's willing to spend hundreds of dollars, you can actually find those parts here. I mean, it's better to go directly from SparkFun or Adafruit for your breakout needs. But I'm not looking for it on that level. I mean, I can make my own breakout board of any of this stuff. So what we're looking for is specifically a headphone amp. And so there are a couple families of devices. I mean, instrumentation op amps, buffer amps, 2 items there. Audio amplifiers, 943. Special purpose amplifiers, again, 2 items. The breakout boards here are going to be vastly expensive. They're going to be very expensive. They charge a lot for typical breakout boards. Headphone amplifier ICs are too hard to locate, but it's the functions you're requesting that are going to be a little bit dicey to figure out. Just realize you could normalize the signal by making a knob to adjust the peak voltage. I think the normalization is achieved by having one knob for each channel. So one left on one, left on one channel and left on the other channel. And then the knob can attenuate plus or minus, amplify or attenuate. It would basically adjust the transfer function in order to make it louder or softer so that you can normalize the two together. Beyond that, I think auto normalization is not something that we'll be able to achieve. I'll have to look at his text message again to see what precisely we're supposed to be accomplishing on it. But so anyway, yeah, we're looking up basically a headphone amp. Well, a headphone amplifier. Let's see if it doesn't narrow it down at all. It took that to be. So we have special purpose, and then we have audio amplifiers. There's only 2 in this category, so I don't know if this is trustworthy. It's not. It's not. It's a $7 chip, so we're going to avoid that. Audio amps. Now, keep in mind, we do have a size criteria that we got to stick to. We have a measly, what, 10 millimeters to deal with? Boomer power-wise. So with DigiKey, DigiKey is also an archive. DigiKey is an archive as well as an industrial supplier. So the thing about DigiKey is you're going to find all the good data sheets here for stuff, chips of yore. But what's really important to do, and especially when working on a design like this, in stock, normally stocking, and then we want a data sheet at the very least. So if an item's in stock and if you lower it to cut tape and reel, well, actually, we don't want tape and reel, we want tube. I'm not buying 100,000 of these things. I want to buy 1 or 5 or 10. You'll notice that after doing in stock, we took 943 results. We lowered it to 140 because there's a lot of repeats in there. You will have a listing for the part, and then you'll have a listing for the part that's the bulk packaging, and you can only order 2,000 of them. So I just realized you could normalize the blah, blah, blah. That sounds like a good way to do it. With the left-hand thing, yeah, I got that from somebody else's mixer. I looked up Synthrotech. The Synthrotech mixer that I found had what they called normalization, because I need to translate stuff. You know, this is a one-person operation here. I'm the only one out here. I gotta make it somehow. I gotta dodge all these strays that are being cast towards me. And so when Julian comes at me and he says, I need the subjunction matrix feature of this thing, and I go, electronically that makes no sense what you just told me. And he goes, I don't know what the fuck it is. I need it. And I'm like, but it's not. That's not a thing. I have to decode the advertisement speak that exists out there. So when I look up similar items like, you know, small mixers for Eurorack, suddenly you notice that somebody mentions normalization. It's like, okay, well, what is that? And you look at the back of their design. Oh, it's just a knob. It's just another knob on the back. So I think that's what he means. I think he means just that he wants volume control over one of the channels so that the two channels can be balanced out. But you're not going to be able to do that like live. That's not going to be something that can happen. Did a quick general lookup for an actual self-contained IC package, and I got questions like 2 channels and, more importantly, wattage output. So those are good questions, and those are things that I'm going to have to answer, and I'll get to them. We definitely need 2 channels because it's going into a headphones, a whole ass pair of headphones. But yeah, there are a bunch of products here. There's about 140 of them. So now we need to make the rest of our. We need to answer the rest of our questions. Class AB, Class D, Class D, Class AB, D, G, H, GH, headphone. I don't want to make that designation. If I make the designation, I get one result. Let's just take a look at what it is, and we'll undo it in a minute. Classification is headphone. That's not a type of amplifier. 2-channel stereo with stereo headphones, 8-pin SOIC, 40 milliwatts at 160 ohms. That's not a lot. And is it, I guess it's currently stocking. Let's just look at, I'm just curious now. I mean, this is pretty close to what we're looking for, but I found one that was a little bit more high quality. 40 milliwatt stereo output, PC power supply compatible, fully specified 3 and 5 operation. Pop reduction circuitry is one of the more important things that I want to have. Internal mid-rail generation. The TPAS is a stereo audio power amplifier packaged in an 8-pin SOIC. 40 milliwatts of continuous RMS. I can tell you right now that that's not going to cut it. Into 16 ohm loads. The amplifier gain is externally configured by means of 2 resistors per input channel and does not require external compensation for settings of 0 to 20 decibels. PhD N1 driving 16 ohm load from 5 volts. I don't know what that means. The problem is Julian is thrusting me into a world that I do not know of. We tried to build that skull speaker, and we continuously failed. We failed and failed again, and then we failed again, and then we failed again, trying to build the simplest of circuits. This is a little bit of a redemption arc for me. Gain setting resistors. See, that's the weird part, is how do you control the volume of this thing? One thing that I cannot have in this design is a dual pot. I do not want to have a dual pot. Those tend to get kind of scratchy. What I want to have is a voltage level controlling the volume, and that might mean a CD4016. We may have to do a CD4016, and then we'll have to have a second one, which means we'll have 3 extra voltage controlled amplifiers in this circuit. It's kind of unfortunate. No, we'll have 2 extras, actually. Yeah. Hitachi IS86 germanium diodes are hard to find. I want to make a Lectena kit. I've never heard of that. Sounds interesting. Back. So yeah, we definitely don't want to have, you know, clear that. We're going to leave the driver type open because they all seem to be, well, I don't really know. They all seem to be 2-channel stereo with stereo headphones. We don't have a subwoofer. Headphones 2-channel. Apply that. That gets us down to 112. So we're down to 112. I would like depop circuit, but all this stuff is arbitrary. The features are arbitrary depending on manufacturer. I want it to be surface mount. Through hole is going to be too big. Don't care about automotive. Don't care about operating temperature. Supplier device package. No. Package case. No. Apply. All right. So we're down to the brass tacks here. We've got the appropriate. Oh, packaging. Bulk, cut tape, digireel. I thought we already specified that. I thought we already got it. Headphone amplifier. Output type. Yeah, that's stereo. Mount type, stock options, media, and then packaging. We already have this in here. Why is this weird? Yeah, cut tape and tube. Why is it in a... Okay, whatever. TPA 6130, IC amp, Class AB stereo, 290 milliwatts, 125 milliwatts. There's a couple different, like... I mean, this... Something this big might not fit. That's probably not going to fit. Class AB stereo, 95 milliwatts. Let's take a look at it. It's a Maxim product. It's $8 a chip. So it probably won't be what we're looking for. But just so we know. For a typical 3.5 millimeter jack, I found on this Google, typically provide 10 to 20 milliwatts of output power. We're not going to settle for that. We're going to have more. IS86 LED RFHF lengths of wire tuned for different 2.5 gigahertz cell phone incoming signals. Good for circuit testing. That's a ghost hunting circuit. That's a ghost detector. If the 3.5 millimeter jack is going to supply to some speakers, then we need to look at different things. Have you soldered a quad flat no lead before? Yeah. No, it's the hidden pad. If you're developing with a QFN, you don't necessarily really need to worry about that center pad, although, you know, it helps to connect to it. If you're dead bugging, you could just solder a little piece of wire to it or something if you need heat to get off of it. If you're just sort of testing out a circuit, it's not that big of a deal. And if you got one on your PCB, you can just solder the outside pins and have the other one in contact. It's not something that I would necessarily recommend. Situations are all going to be different. But in the case that you do have one, just use some solder paste and hot air. I mean, hot air is so easy to get these days, a little hot air station. You could even just use a toaster or skillet solder something in order to get the QFN to just sit down and properly make contact. With a QFN, all of your pins are on the outside edges, so it's not that hard to you know, sort of hand solder. And solder rework too. Like if you've got a pin that's giving you trouble, you can just get to it with a soldering iron. So the Max 9850 audio digital to analog converter. Nope. We're out already. They already ruined it. So that's definitely not something that we'll look at. I'm under the impression the audio output for the 3.5 millimeter jacks is for a pair of headphones. That's what Julian specified. He said it was for his headphones. But again, I don't want to give him an anemic engineering headphone amp mixer. So those SO8 ones are maybe the right thing. They do go up to 150 milliwatts, which is going to be way more than, you know, like, okay. MW4 headphones. You guys got to let me cook. Let me cook. G'day. Okay, so shit audio. Professional audio products at not audiophile prices. They have headphone amps, and they have gaming headphone amps. Full E, answer the question, what's the most affordable way I can get into gaming and evolve? Blah, 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 blah. Control F, MW. 300 into 16 ohms. So let's work off of that specification. 300 milliwatts. I'm listening through a Magni right now. I have a Vala, or what is it? I have Volva? No. That's the wrong thing. My old Valley 2 and Modi are sitting over here. I upgraded these during the pandemic, but these are originally what I used in order to do headphone amplification for my computer. So yeah, I mean, if we really want to, I could reverse engineer a vacuum tube circuit, but we don't have that kind of power in... The most annoying thing about this stack is that it needs a bunch of different power cables to operate. I used to bring this whole thing to LAN parties, and it was I mean, it was good, but yeah, I like my shit audio. I like their stuff, but they're using a digital audio DAC in order to do that work. I got the Fulla 2, and I'm pretty sure the USB broke. Ugh. You could try to repair it. It's tough. At least the new shit Fulla model remove the USB micro A. I've got the one that's not USB C, and I'm sort of angry because I bought it like a month before they upgraded to the USB C ones. I'm so mad. Why don't I get nice things? And people are like, email them, maybe they'll be nice. And it's like, no, they don't care. So we want the upper end of milliwatts. We don't need 300 necessarily, but we're talking about like stage production headphone power. What do you think of the sound of those tube amplifiers? The thing about tubes, sorry, I felt a piece of hoagie on my teeth. I originally came from the school of thought for the engineers at a lot of the 3DFX engineers ended up at a company called Aviom, A-V-I-O-M, and I worked for them for a little bit. I got to talk to those guys, and they were like, silicon's always going to be able to produce exactly the same stuff as you do with tubes. And it's like, oh, okay, so they're of a mind that tubes are completely and wholly obsolete. But I never really formed my own opinion about tubes. So that $100 tube amplifier probably costs a lot more now. A $100 tube amplifier I was looking at, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the plunge on this. I'm going to buy that and see if it's good with the big headphones and see what it sounds like. I was shocked. It actually did make a huge difference in what you hear. When you turn up a tube amplifier, maybe it's just something about the physics being a little different, the way that it deals with harshness. And maybe it was the headphones that I bought at the time, but when you turn up a tube amplifier, it does not get harsher sounding. In my mind, keep in mind, these are my impressions, they're not like set in stone. Instead of it sounding harsher and louder and more abrasive, it sounded like you were getting closer to the sound booth at a concert. You were getting closer to that sound booth. And so you got more detail, you got more volume of everything. But it wasn't harsh. And I don't know any other words to kind of describe what that means. It's the way that it handles the high frequencies are a little bit different. And what you're dealing with is essentially heated plates with a grid in between them. And when the grid is energized one way or another, electrons are allowed to flow across. That's different than when you have 3 pieces of silicon jammed together and you're biasing a sort of a boundary layer of electrons. It's just different. So in audio, everything is a personal impression. Don't let people sell you on science in audio because it's dumb. There's no great new science in audio. For the most part, obviously, everything I say gets picked apart by you assholes, and you guys figure out all the corner cases of every single word that comes out of my mouth. What I'm telling you is that audio stuff is mainly about impressions, and a lot of the impressions that they sell audio people on are, I spent all this money, it's got to be good. That is a powerful psychological phenomenon, and a lot of times they will sell you on that, and they will speak complete and utter nonsense to you as a result. Audio is all about personal impressions. Don't make it anything else, because then you'll get into arguments on forums, and it'll become a whole shit show. So for me, my impression of vacuum tubes is that the sound is warmer. It's actually a thing, and maybe it's due to the high frequencies not hitting you as hard. Something about it is really neat to me, and the audio out of it is really nice to me. So that's and I learned that by taking the plunge myself. And trying it out. Yeah, what is better is just not a discussion that's worth having. In my opinion, it's different. Not that it's good or bad. You just have a different sound signature. Yeah, and it may have to do with how it deals with, it may not be totally linear for all sound that's going into it. Maybe that's what the impression is. Maybe that's what I'm getting, is that it's dropping off those high frequencies as you turn it up for some reason. Maybe just Maybe its incapability is adding a sort of a warmth to the sound. Bass pressure shaking the house. That's what you want. Okay, so anyway, we're looking up ICs. We're trying to figure out what a good headphone amplifier is. Bass boost. We definitely want bass boost. We don't want bass boost. All right. So I mean 160 ohms, 320 ohms, 80 ohms. We're talking about like 16 ohms. We're talking about like actual like good headphones. I don't really want to do an equation. I mean, with this would amount to 300 milliwatts at 16 ohms. Why do they persist in confusing us? Let's just apply that and see what the 30 milliwatt at 160 ohms is. Oh, there's no way in hell. I'm not doing a BGA. Listen, BGAs are for sadomasochistic purposes. There's no way in hell that I want to deal with this. While it may be small, you deal with all these little pins underneath the IC that you don't know whether or not they've soldered. And if you need to rework one, you need to reball it. And I am not into all of these balls at once. It's just not this is not my style. More power to you if you love BGAs, but and I've worked with a lot of BGAs in my time, but man, it is just a nightmare. Even if you have hot air, you know, you can get by. It's fine. You can actually do just fine with hot air in a BGA. But if something goes wrong, it goes really wrong. And I just don't want to deal with it. Too much balls for this content? No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a lot of balls, but this is just it's not worth my frustration to save that much space. Keep in mind, this design would actually benefit greatly from all that space savings, but let's just leave that as it were. Clear this. Well, anyway, the point is, you know, well, the problem is some of them double it up, so it doesn't really help. Let's just look at page 2 then. Well, there's also just a lot of these here, but it's like 25 milliwatts. But is that 25 milliwatts at a certain thing? Either way, the one that I found when I was doing this previously, let's see if that one actually matches up to what we're looking for. I'm going to open up, I don't have the ability to transfer this from machine to machine because the permissions are stupid on the file server still. But on this other machine, I was working on this a little bit. Oh yeah, of course, this machine restarted overnight, so it closed the whole thing. Let's do, hold on, let me open up Paint. MS Paint. Open up the recents. Oh, cool. Maybe I didn't save it. Oh God, yeah, I lost all that design work. Great. No, that's cool. Okay, so I don't actually have it. It got destroyed during a restart. I guess I had forgot to hit Control S. I forgot to hit Control S. So how are we going to choose this headphone amp? Well, one of them was like a high quality boomer. One of them had a feature that was HD. Thermal protection, volume control, volume control, volume control. A lot of these have volume control, which is good. Volume control. The pop differential, I2C we don't need. Mute, short circuit, and thermal protection. I think it did have a mute function, but we would not need the mute function. Right click and send the tab. I don't have a tab open for sure. Hey, Poopsie Doodle. Well, I might have, but it's closed now. So, and there's probably a lot of other tabs that I have in the interim. So I don't think that's really going to help me find it again. It said something about it being like high quality, but it might have been way lower wattage, to be honest. Like, okay, Class AB 95 milliwatts at what ohms? Because the shit audio driver was 300, but they didn't tell us the ohms. Well, 300 at 16 ohms. and I think it was a QFN, and I want to say it was Maxim, but could be wrong about that. This one's 290 milliwatt, Class AB, 20-pin QFN. Let's see, it's Texas Instruments. It might be a little expensive. One is $1. That's not bad. Look at the data sheet and see what they give us. Can you specify a wattage? Yeah, but it doesn't tell it gives us the ohms as like 160 or 320 milliohms. It doesn't say like 16 ohms or like 10 ohms or something like that. It's like a decade too hot. Direct path, ground referencing, eliminate output DC bias, reduce board area, full component height and cost. Wait, it reduces, sorry, full base response without attenuation. Power supply, 2.5 to 5. We're going to have a voltage regulator. 64-step audio taper volume control. That's not that bad unless we need a digital input to control that. High power supply rejection ratio. Well, we do like getting rejected. Differential inputs for maximum noise rejection. High impedance output when disabled. Advanced pop and click suppression. Digital I2C bus control. Goodbye. Good. That was fun, but bye. Goodbye. Goodbye. We don't want digital. 95 milliwatts, 130 milliwatts, 125 milliwatts, 3 watts. 3 watts? That thing is not going to fit on our board. That's way too big for the board. Max 1333, 135 milliwatts. 105. Yeah, I don't know if it's really going to be that great for us. What are these though? These LM 4809. What's $1 each? Another TI. No, I didn't want to look up Texas Instruments. I wanted the data sheet. Clicked the wrong thing. I clicked wrong. Okay. Active low shutdown, click and pop reduction, low shutdown current, no bootstrap capacitors, unity gain stable, headphone, personal computers, microphone amplifiers. 105 milliwatt continuous average power into 16 ohms. 105 into 16 ohms, not powerful enough for us. Was there a raid? I missed it. Oh, Lunatic Live. Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, we've been a little bit like focused. I'm trying to find this headphone amplifier because we're figuring out what circuit we're building. My buddy Julian does Eurorack stuff, and we've been doing a lot of Eurorack stuff lately. We've been trying to repair the M303 as well as working on a bunch of other stuff. We're in the weeds. When was that raid? It was like a couple comments ago. I'm so sorry. Lunatic Live is awesome. He's a part of the Djibouti crew. If you guys aren't familiar with Djibouti, we raided them one time, a long time ago. It was a big stream. They were doing like a St. Jude charity thing. It's really, really heartfelt and wonderful. And then one of the people from my stream commented in their chat and said, "This is too high energy for me." And Justin read the comment, and I exploded. I turned into dust. Because it was so fucking embarrassing. Louis part of the Djibouti crew, and he's awesome. He does a lot of like 8-bit kind of like music stuff, and he's making a Game Boy game at one point. And yeah, you guys should definitely check out his content. He's a very cool guy. We're working on Eurorack stuff because my friends got me into it. They got me into it because apparently in Eurorack stuff, you can just buy the circuit board of the Eurorack module that you want, and they basically just say, "Good luck, asshole. You got to figure out how to build it completely on your own," which I love because I just do this kind of stuff. And so I was able to buy the circuit board for a module, figure out what chips I need, build the thing, find information on what's supposed to go where, and eventually it resulted in my having some functional Eurorack modules. Yeah, we have, so this is a Lepton 3.5 thermal image sensor, and there's a lot of very shocking stuff that you can actually do with a thermal image sensor. The reason we have it is because I do soldering. And so the soldering, it's cool to see the heat propagate through stuff. But like, even if you have, let me get my block of aluminum over here. It's my best example for thermal vision acuity. The cool thing about thermal imagers is they read long wave infrared. And so under long wave infrared, things like even rough aluminum end up looking like a mirror to the point where, if I get the side correct, you can actually see my reflection in this piece of aluminum that otherwise has absolutely no reflection at all, because this piece of metal is cold enough that the long wave infrared waves bounce off of it. And so my glasses are not indeed sunglasses. They're actually just normal glasses, but they're plastic lenses. So they show up as being dark, as being cold and not transmitting light. I look way cooler in infrared than I do normally, but you can see the insulative properties of my beard. Pretty cool. Yeah, so there's all kinds of neat stuff like that. But anyway, we were working on like audio stuff. Louis would be more interested in the RC car project that I've been doing. So 1/28 scale RC cars. I'm basically a giant man baby, which is why I get along with Louis so well. Why he felt comfortable rating, because I'm also a big man baby. I crashed this thing into a curve at like 35 miles an hour, but this is a 1/28 scale RC car. I was working with the cheaper, like $75 Amazon 1/28 scale RCs, and I got so mad at it that I eventually bought a professional, expensive RC car chassis. And so the RC car chassis is the Atom SZ2. Built the whole thing up, got the electronics all situated by 3D printing some stuff, and then I found these cool things. These are magnet connectors. Yeah, I said 35. It got 55.5 kilometers per hour on this GPS module when I was racing the thing around. This has a gyro on it too, so that it'll stabilize itself. Before I was able to get a gyro run, I ran into the curb and it exploded. So I'll have to print up another car body. This is a Lancia 037, and I'm holding the body on with these 3-pin magnetic connectors. So what these do is they just lock into place, and they actually hold pretty well. They hold pretty well for what they are. I'm able to pick up the RC car without them dropping off. In the near future, because we're doing sponsored AutoCAD streams, in the near future, what we're going to do is make little clear printed blocks for the 3 headlights. I don't think I'm going to do front turn signals, but then printed blocks for the tail lights, and then I can have brake lights and turn signals and stuff on this, and they'll be very cute. This is totally just me being a big child. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. This is basically during the pandemic. I said, man, you know, it'd be cool if I could drift around a little RC car. And the Mario Kart home circuit kind of kicked me off on this. I was going to use 1/28 scale RC car parts in order to super duper mega cheat at Mario Kart home circuit, put like a really powerful motor in it and everything. But that kind of got away from us. That project kind of got away from us. That happens every now and then around here. But yeah, you know, I do stuff like that around here. We've used to have anyway, a big board on the wall that is supposed to burn subscribers' names onto itself. We got to get back to working on that, because that's been something that's been down for several years. I have 2 other boards in the shop that have thousands of usernames on them, and this one was supposed to be no exception. We decided to kind of step up our game and make it a little bit more professional, and in doing so, it's taken a long time to work on, and I kind of burnt out on it. So I haven't been working on it. We'll get back to it. What we're doing today, though, has to do with Eurorack stuff. Eurorack stuff is basically modular synthesizers. A synthesizer consists of something that makes a wave, something that amplifies or damplifies the wave, something that manipulates the wave, and then some kind of an output to normal voltage levels. And so all of those components can be made sort of standard, and the voltages can be sort of nebulously standardized, so that you have what they like to call a walled garden, where you can do no wrong. You just plug things into things, and everything is tolerant of everything else. And so you can come up with all kinds of weird stuff. Can you install a spy camera on your cool car? I bought a little tiny camera. It was the one that Louis suggested that I buy. And yes, I can actually put that on the car. I probably need a version of the body that has like a cutout on it. But I do have that little camera module. It'd probably be very lumpy video, though. I do have a receiver, an FPV like headset receiver. It's an old one. It's an old one. The image inside of it looks like you're just looking at something this big. But I could make it into an FPV race car. I think that would be a little bit jarring, though. And then I was always wondering, like, you know, given budget, and I certainly don't have the budget, could I put like a balloon up And my neighborhood is a circle. It's a circle. And so if I go somewhere near the middle of the circle and I put like a balloon up with an antenna on it, could I get reception throughout the entire neighborhood? There was a thing, and I've looked this up, there was a thing to advertise like 5G, where they had two RC cars racing on an off-road circuit, and the drivers of the RC cars were hundreds of miles away. So it was like full video networking and stuff, video and data networking that was like super fast. Make Kit from Knight Rider. No, Kit from Knight Rider, hot take, Kit from Knight Rider is a really boring car. What I made was the Lancia 37, which is this balls out, Abarth created Lancia Monte Carlo that was the last rear-wheel drive rally car to win in Group B. And unfortunately, I mean, this is an all-wheel drive chassis, so it's a little bit disingenuous, but this thing is like a precursor to the Lotus Elise, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's such a cool car, and it's actually a lot smaller than you would think it is. But it also fits the wheelbase, the really wide wheelbase of the RC car. So I like the Lancia 37. It's no neon. Yeah, why don't you make a Toyota Corolla? Bother, make a Toyota Corolla. Make a beige Toyota Corolla that both drives like it's beige and looks like it's beige. Is that the one that had the cheater turbo that expanded when it revved up? Maybe. I don't know about that. But it was, I mean, it was a legendary car. And then they only made about 200 of these because they had to in order to enter into the, you know, because it has to be a street car. So they only made 200 of them. They said, we made the minimum possible number. And then now there's a company that makes a resto mod version of this thing. Well, then you both are and look beige. I don't know, man. Toyota Corolla is a car that you get in to get to your destination. You never think about it aside from that. Yeah, it was reliable as fuck. I know. I once had to fix my friend's Toyota Corolla. He said, this thing is like making squeaking noises. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's making squeaking noises. Why don't you bring it over? We'll just fix it real quick. And this is FK Productions, actually. He's not in chat right now. But he drives this car all the way to my house out of the city and, you know, parks the car. We open the hood. I'm like, all right, so start the car. Let me hear this noise. Starts the car. It goes beep, 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 beep. And I go, all right. It's definitely fan belt. Turn the car off. Or no, we didn't turn the car off. It's still going. Beep, 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 beep. And I was like, okay. Well, okay, so it's the fan belt. You might need a new tensioner or something. We need to figure out how it is that we're going to adjust the tension on the fan belt. And with my car, you know, VW and BMW and stuff like that, I know that you just replace the whole part. It's just a part with a spring in it and a pulley, and the spring just loosens up over time. So you buy a new part, and then you got to get in there, you got to get to it and everything. And in the time that I'm explaining this, I noticed that there is a screw on the pulley in the very center of the engine bay at the top. And I go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, let me get my screwdriver. Get the screwdriver, and I go. And that problem was fixed for the next 5 years of his ownership of the car. Literally, Toyota Corolla, you cannot get a more reliable car. They're boring, but they are very reliable. All I had to do was that, and that fixed this car for years and years. Champagne Toyota Corolla is an excellent car if your goal is saving money on insurance. Yeah, that's exactly it. So anyway, yeah, we do a bunch of man-baby stuff here, and you know, Djibouti Show has been an awesome friend of this show. They discovered me through my moderator, OctoJ. During the beginning of a stream, he mentioned that he moderates for this dude who does weird electronics projects. I have tried to nail down sort of a thing that I could build that would make its way to their show, you know, all the way over there on the other coast of the United States. I have not been able to follow through or come up with a good enough thing. You know, when we did the button project for Tom Thinks, that was a perfect project. He needed something that would relieve sort of well, what is it? Ergonomic solution for him. He needed to be able to push a button, and the foot pedal button was hurting his ankle because he stands when he does his stream. And so it's like, that's just knock the ball out of the park. We can 3D print something. We can take something apart. We can reverse engineer a thing. We build a simple circuit board. We put his art all over it, and we send it to him over wherever he is. And problem solved, and I look awesome. I look super smart and super generous. But with like Djibouti Show and Louis, like, you know, they have Louis. Louis knows how to do some of this stuff. And I was going to make a super cheaty Mario Kart home circuit, but you got to strike while the anvil's hot. And unlike, you know, like your Michael Reeves and some of your other like Uo's Lab kind of creators who are able to strike while the anvil's hot. I don't make crap. I try to make really good things, and that takes time. And it just doesn't work out sometimes. And some people are better at like rushing a project than I am. So I'm not really good in that sense. Speaking of which, what we are looking to do is we are actually looking to build my friend Julian a mixer. This is one of those projects that starts out with me going, oh, that's super easy. I can do that in like 5 minutes. And it turns out that every single minor detail is completely cursed all the way to the end of this. It turns out in order to fit all of these parts on such a small circuit board, I had to do a lot of alteration to the footprints of the parts in order to get them to barely even be the right size. It's absolutely a nightmare. See, the thing is, Julian has a portable modular synthesizer. It's very small indeed. And so the latest trends with modular synthesizers are to make these 2 Eurorack unit sized panels. Because the Eurorack is it's an old telecom standard and instrumentation standard where you have a certain distance. This is 100 millimeters, and then these are 10 millimeters off of that. And then you have 5 millimeters off of that, you have your screw terminals. And so I made this out of MakerBeam. I've also got a professional, like more professional case that Dave made behind me. So basically everything fits on these rails. Depth is not so much of a thing unless you're dealing with a portable rack that only has so much depth in it. So we've got about 30 millimeters of depth, but a lot of that's going to be taken up by the connectors themselves off of that front panel. I 3D print the front panels, but basically we have 2U, which is like this big. It's like 10 millimeter. So this is like no space at all. 100 millimeter, 10 millimeter, and I have to fit my friend's mixer specifications into that. And its specifications are 2 stereo channels mixing into a headphone output. All of these steps have controls. So the LR1 has a volume knob, LR2 has a volume knob, and then LR has its own volume knob. What are you guys talking about? Have you decided if you're going to file the edge of the PCB yet? Yeah, I mean, I talked about it a little bit. It's like, I don't know how to include the hole for the pin so that there's a cut in the side of the PCB so that the board house can create it. I need to read up on that. I haven't been doing my homework. There's been some, stuff going on external to this stream. I don't know if you've heard of it. I won't mention it, but it's been not fun for a lot of people out there, let's just say. Anyway, so all of these components, I had to make sure that they actually were able to fit onto this 100 millimeter board. Now, I busted this out to 10 millimeters instead of 9. Some of these people that make these things make them at 9 millimeters, which is insane. And that means that these little tabs on the potentiometers can just hug the board. But what I'd rather have is have just a little cut here or something that I file that they would fit into, and then I would be able to, bend them down in order to get them to fit. So that being said, what does that mean for the electronics? Well, it means that SO8 is just about the largest thing that I can fit on here reliably. That'll fit there. And if you guys aren't familiar, this is AutoCAD Fusion. AutoCAD Fusion has what used to be Eagle as part of it, the Eagle PCB design software. I used to use Eagle, and then I've taken a couple classes in AutoCAD in the early 2000s in college, and so I use this suite of tools to the point where the suite of tools contacted me and gave me a free version. Pretty cool. So we'll be doing some sponsored ads from them, sponsored ad streams for them. Is it Eagle no more? I think they still call it Eagle, but it's like Fusion 360. They don't call it Fusion 360 anymore. Now it's AutoCAD Fusion. So I need to get all that stuff straight when I talk about it, because I'm supposed to adhere to those guidelines, and I don't know what they are. They're all documented on the website. So the point is, with these circuit design software, and I think Fusion is not unique in this, but Fusion also has like the comprehensive 3-dimensional design suite in it that I love to use to do 3D printing stuff. But in this program, basically what you're doing is you're putting down schematic symbols and components, and you're connecting them with lines in order to program the software on what still needs to be connected. It helps keep your head straight with all this stuff, right? They didn't used to do that, by the way. It used to be, back in my day, let me wave my proverbial cane at you, or maybe I can just yell at a cloud. I need a little cloud that comes down from here. But it used to be that you would put all those components down, but you would put them down as footprints, and it was up to you to kind of relate everything to everything else. And so they decided to add these things to these programs where you give it those trace connections, and it says, oh, okay, this is supposed to be connected to here, and it shows you a little air wire. And then on top of all of that, they started to add AI. And this is, by the way, this is the early 2000s that they added AI to PCB design. We electrical engineers, we knew about AI way before it became like a household buzzword. These aren't language models, they're circuit models. They have different circuit models of AI that'll put together the circuit in various different ways for you. I don't like using auto tracing. Yeah, auto tracing. Auto tracing can be a little bit annoying, and I haven't worked with it very much. So I like just doing the traces on my own. Yeah, the machine learning stuff. That's been around for a long time on the really expensive CAD programs. So what you do is you start with the drawing of your design. You figure out if all of your components are properly put together, and that means they have a two-dimensional footprint and a three-dimensional part associated with them. So we've been through all of that on this stream. We then go to the the two-dimensional PCB. And this drawing contains all the different layers and pads and layouts of all of your different components. And you try to mechanically space them out at this stage. We haven't gotten to the stage where we start to lay out actual traces yet, because I don't know if the schematic's going to work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have a singular clipping LED. I mean, I guess I could have an LR clipping LED, but that's going to be way more op amps than I bargained for. Yeah, I bargained for. So we then, in 2 dimensions, we lay out the mechanicals. In order to get the dimensions right, though, it helps to be able to actually see a representation of the 3-dimensional circuit board. So that's what I did, and I used that to kind of help me try to piece together how this thing would mechanically go together. That meant editing a lot of these parts in order to have minimal footprints. That's why I have these sort of oval slots as the vias instead of round holes. Because round holes that fit a pin this big would take up more room on either end. This way, maybe if I'm super pushed, I might be able to run a trace between those. Not sure about that yet, though. I've always been told not to use auto tracing. Yeah, that's generally, I don't know, maybe that, like, if you spend a lot of time defining everything exactly right, you could then possibly use auto tracing. But in designs like this, like, we're not worried about the overall impedance of the traces and whether or not they have a capacitance to something near them. We're not dealing with signals on that level. Audio signals, it just doesn't matter. Yeah, do crimes. Be gay, do crimes, exactly. So yeah, anyway, the crimes that we've done, we've moved these pins basically under the potentiometer in order to get just a little tiny bit of extra room from component to component. It gives us just a little bit of breathing room in there. And I'm going to try to do this in 2 layers, so that's even more torture. I'm going to be tearing my hair out at this thing. Do all the things you're told not to do in CAD. Well, it's not that these are things that you're not told to do. It's that we have to kind of bend the rules in order to get close to this thing. One of the things that we will also have to do is, per the board house that's going to be building our PCBs, we need to put in all of their design rules within their cheapest PCB service. So JLPCB, there's a bunch of other places that do these $5 PCB deals. JLPCB, we're going to try this time because they've got slightly better resolution in terms of doing tiny traces. So we're going to be able to put tiny little traces on this thing. A trace is like the wire that connects the things on the PCB. It's not an actual wire. It's a piece of copper that's been deposited onto the fiberglass circuit board. We call those traces. So the traces are the lines that connect the different components. That said, we don't know what components we're going to use in this thing. And so that's where MS Paint comes in. And, you know, I don't profess to be the greatest artist in the world. Oh, we forgot. I don't profess to be the greatest artist in the world, but a lot of our brainstorming happens in MS Paint, and you'll end up with comprehensive diagrams of what things should be inside of MS Paint. This is a module testing module that I've been working on, and I need to get this into CAD. I need to get my whole plans of circuit designs into CAD. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now, we would like to apply to what's called solderless breadboard. So this is solderless breadboard. It's a plastic board with a bunch of holes in it. All right, you guys have video, right? This isn't just an audio talk. Now, I actually have used MS Paint to draw traces before. This is breadboard. This is solderless breadboard. What this is a bunch of little metal clips that have been inserted into the back of this thing. And each vertical row is isolated from one another. But each vertical row is also connected. So if I go to the top here and I press this thing in, this little pinned wire, and I press it into the top one and I press it into the bottom one, those two are now electrically coupled to one another. Not really well. It is, after all, just a metal clip that has been bent, right? It's just a bent metal clip. And you insert your component and the bent metal clip goes and it connects. The problem with that is that the resistors that we're able to buy, that I'm able to find everywhere, are not nearly as thick as this thing expects. These are a bunch of jumper wires that I use when breadboarding. The resistors, where are they? They're over here. The ones that I've been able to find lately have not been thick enough. And so a lot of the frustration when you breadboard something is in the lack of connection from these thin wires to your actual clips inside of these boards. Some of these need to be broken in, like you need to pop something into the clip in order to spread it out just a little bit. And they're all made out of the lowest of the low pig metal, barely conducts, it bends permanently, it has two bends before it breaks kind of metal. So we're dealing with all those factors. And so when I build a big comprehensive breadboard circuit, sometimes getting it to work just means putting your hand on it and wiggling a little bit. Very, very frustrating. But the point is, these breadboards, it used to be that you would build your thing in a breadboard, you would move it over to a more permanent perforated prototyping board. That's this stuff here. More permanent perforated prototyping board. And then from there, you would then say, okay, this thing works. Let's move it over to actual electronics design and make a PCB. Well, nowadays you can get 5 PCBs for $5. Shipping is a little expensive when you go through China, but $30 for 5 PCBs? I used to spend $100 for a PCB that didn't even have a solder mask on it. And now I'm getting professional looking circuit boards from these companies directly from CAD. So we're dealing with that a little bit. I kind of did a little bit of CAD at the beginning to say, yes, all of this will fit on this board. Now I'm doing circuit design in order to figure out whether or not I can build, I can fit all the electronics components onto this little circuit board. And then we need to figure out whether or not I can run traces on the circuit board. This is a small project, but because we're doing it on stream, it's taking forever. So that was for the benefit of all the lunatics. Sorry, it's a long explanation. Is a bag of chips also a chipset? I need some Doritos. My last order was under $4 Canadian for 5 boards shipped. Holy shit, Solid Electronics. So I got contacted by PCBWay and I haven't responded to them. I don't know if I want to do a sponsorship from the PCB house. It's a little close to home. But if I do, that would mean I could get like free PCBs made and I could further monetize our understanding of the new path to having professional electronics made, which is, you know, tootle around in MS Paint, breadboard it, and then just full send into a PCB. Even if your design gets revisions, it's like, oh no, it's another $30. Who am I ordering from? We're gonna go through JLPCB for this one. The typical one that I do is Seeed Studio. I think the quality of Seeed Studio is a little bit better than JLPCB, but JLPCB allows for smaller traces, and so we're gonna try them again. We've tried them before. They're pretty good. Their silk screen is not blurry. The Seeed Studio silk screen is a little bit blurry, but I don't know. I still feel like Seeed makes a better PCB. But Seeed, are they both in China? I know Seeed Studio is in China. I don't know where JL is located. But again, like there's similar prices for all of these. It depends on what you can tolerate shipping. And then there's a bunch of different board houses. I mean, there's PCBWay, et cetera, et cetera. JLPCB's silk screen is really top notch. So the problem with the Seeed Studio silk screen is that we view stuff under this very powerful microscope. And when we view things under the microscope, again, the microscope is the same exact view that you see. So I see what you see, right? This thing right here, that's my OBS window. That's broadcasting, but it's also showing me what I'm broadcasting. So when I put the microscope up on screen, I am literally looking straight over at what you guys are seeing. China or Hong Kong, okay. But when I go to the micro, this is the same view. What the hell is that? This is the same view, right, that you guys see. So when we were looking at the Seeed Studio boards that I ordered, under this view, it looked as though the silk screen was out of focus. And I'm sure their RP2040 factory line probably gets a better silk screen. Where's one of the ones that we did? Here's this VCO that we made recently. And I used curved traces. But for some reason, and maybe that's not the case anymore, it looked as though we couldn't focus on the silk screens because they were just a little bit fuzzy in the camera view. This microscope is pretty sensitive, and I do want to revisit the project where we take digital control over the focus control of this camera. Because if this thing has these little piezoelectric motors inside of it, and if I could take those over to focus, we wouldn't have to deal with the utter earthquake that's caused when I touch the camera. Yeah, the electronics get angry when you put sharp corners, so we softened up the edges on everything. It's nice and soft. We can't poke our eyes out on this thing. But yeah, I decided to do curved traces like they have in Dorn. And we're going to be doing that on this design too, the mixer design. I need to figure out what the mixer design is. And we're getting a little bogged down in figuring out what wattage of a headphone driver we have. I hate to tell you guys, but electronics is boring. We have to do some boring tasks every now and then. And so the entire stream sort of rests on the shoulders of my charisma during these trying times, such as we're in right now. And the trying times that we're in are, let me put you guys back on screen because you guys have been behaving a little bit more. Usually I have chat up on stream, but they were being entirely distracting. They're not being super distracting right now. They're being, I like to have them on stream for a little bit of context as to what's distracting me. Where are you guys? Where'd you go? There it is. So yeah, we need to figure out like a headphone driver for this so that we can put together a little bit of a circuit. And I wanted to actually start putting together an actual, like, putting the electronics together, but we don't have any idea of what we're doing. So, because you get lost in component selection details, I wanted to select the right thing. We got to find a headphone driver, and I found one on the other computer, but that entire schematic is now gone. We discovered that all of the work that I had done off camera, because I had been off stream for one day and the whole country falls apart. I don't stream for one day, and this is what happens. What the hell's wrong with all of you guys? You fucked everything up. You did. But no, so yesterday and the day before, actually, a little bit, I was kind of piecing together the mixer circuit. And I had two headphone drivers that I had selected, and one of them was really cool. It was like a high quality headphone driver. And so I'm kind of trying to look for that again. Makes sense to me, yeah. You need to identify the parts and make sure that you can get them before you can design the PCB. Well, part of it is also that, I'm sorry, Dad, you better be. Part of it is that I have a lot of the components here to do the audio stuff. We need one specialty component, but we will need to piece together the circuit on the breadboard so we can fool around with it and get things to work properly. I have enough stuff that we can like test things with control voltages and stuff, so it's not very boring when we have you soldering on the board. That's the thing, we're not gonna be soldering. I do need to, I mean, okay, we can do a little bit of soldering actually, to be honest. And I think we should probably break to do a little bit of soldering while, because I need to get my ducks in a row in terms of this audio output driver. I need to find the right amount of milliwatts, the right amount of signal gain in order to run a set of nice headphones, because if it runs nice headphones, it'll run shit headphones. I don't know what Julian will be using, but I have headphones that range from nice to shit. I have a $400 pair of headphones. I saved up for them. It's what I use with my vacuum tube stuff. And it's what I use when streaming games, but I feel bad using those because when I stream games and I have those expensive headphones on, I've got these huge like things over my ears and it just looks ridiculous. It looks like I'm a Mega Man character. I should wear tights with them. Or just in general. Okay, so the soldering that we can do today is that I want to put some of these components like the CD4016 and the other amplifier thingy from Cabin Tech onto a breakout board so we can put them on this. Now you can buy the through-hole versions of these chips, and I didn't know we were going to be doing breadboarding, so I didn't buy the through-hole versions of these chips. Probably would have been a good idea to do that, but Expensive open back headphones also give a bit of a real edge in shooters, way easier to tell 3D. That's actually how a friend of mine did it for a long time. He had some very, very expensive, actually he had surround sound headphones, so I don't really know how smart he is, but he had like good audio for his whole like gaming career. And so big headphones, able to get a huge dynamic range out of them. And so he was able to hear footsteps in Counter-Strike and triangulate with those and get accused of cheating because you'd shoot through walls when you'd hear footsteps on the other side. Of course, it doesn't take much to get accused of cheating in Counter-Strike. That's kind of easy to do. All you have to do is have a good round and everybody thinks that you're cheating. Because people have to make sense of this crazy world. And it's easier to come up with conspiracies than anything else. Where did my cabin tech parts go? What did you guys do with them? Who snuck in here and stole my cabin tech parts? I know you did it, because it's easier to make sense of this crazy world by thinking that someone's after me. What did I do with those? They were in bags. A couple bags of parts that were kind of kicking around. I got my HD 600s for $150. The deal that I got on the DT 1990s was something like $100 off from some place in Brooklyn. That's not B&H. It was a different kind of audio-visual place. It was like a DJ place or something. And I guess they had a couple pairs that just never sold. And so my friend was like, if we're going to buy these headphones, we're going to buy them now. And I was like, all right, fine. And so I put a buttload of my own money on the line, and we actually got them in the mail. And so now I have really nice headphones. The ones I used before were overpriced B&H fashionable headphones that did decent audio. I don't know what happened to the chips. I had a bag full of chips, Chad. I had a bag. It was full of microchips. Michael chips. It had a bunch of microchips in it. Had a bunch of, well, they weren't microchips, they were ASICs, but what happened to it? I need that bag of things. What happened to it? If I can't find it, I guess we can do soldering on the power supply, much unlike the title lets on to, but we had those bags over here. DT 1770s are really good. Yeah, they're nice. The thing about the Baradynamics is that they allow you to replace just about everything on the headphone. Like you can replace all the foam, and that's very important. And then there are the ones that enhance bass, the different like aftermarket foams that you can get. Oh, just the 770s. Those are still perfectly adequate. They're great headphones. Like the Baradynamics are above and beyond a lot of other things. But the good thing is, every couple of years you can replace that foam because we are disgusting grease beasts, and we extrude grease into everything around us. We are disgusting, filthy things. And it's nice to be able to just refurbish your headphones. Because again, human slime. Human slime. No, the thing is, like, people talk about like breaking in your headphones, and I am a staunch believer that that is a bunch of hoopla nonsense that's totally meaningless and comes from everywhere else but an engineering perspective. Because when you buy a pair of headphones, when you first buy them, they are at their best. You have a coil suspended in a magnetic field, and that coil moves back and forth against the foam, and the foam is like a spring that'll spring it back into place. In order to get the best replication of audio, you want that spring to act consistently and springily in order to put that coil into the right position while it's pushing air towards your ears. It gets worse over time. That foam starts to break down, it becomes softer, it becomes more brittle, it starts to flake away. Breaking in a headphone is complete poppycock nonsense because you're breaking down that foam. The foam isn't like leather. People seem to think that because they're audio nuts and they love to be sold on things. You don't need to listen to 5 to 8 hours of full blast static in order to get your headphones to start working properly. That's nonsense. And so with the Baradynamics, you can replace the foam that goes around your ear because over time, the foam around your ear is going to settle in and it's going to have different properties. It's not going to seal as well, or, you know, it's going to put that speaker a little closer to your ear. You can replace it. You can refurbish them. So, you know, all your nasty human meat grease can get into that stuff, and, you know, because you don't exactly clean them up. you can replace them, and boom, your headphones are brighter and better sounding. You get more bass out of them. Yeah, anyway, that's just like my perspective on that stuff. And again, like I said before, with audio stuff, everything is impressionistic, right? You say, I believe, or my impression is, well, this is one of those things that I actually am putting my foot down on, and I will die on this hill saying that you do not need to break in headphones. That's nonsense. Way easier to measure break-in on hi-fi speaker drivers as Thiel small parameters. Usually VOS, equipment compliance volume, goes up. Parameters all shift around a bit, and ideal tuning stays the same. I can't get behind that. I can't get behind that. It occurs in about 4 hours, and they stay like that for the life of the driver, which is 20 years. Interesting. It's just the whole like break-in procedure thing is nonsense. Nonsense. You know, what is the coil? What changes about the coil over time? I don't play games like that because what was, wait, hold on. Oh no, I clicked on it. I don't play games like that because the game chat feels like it drains IQ points. Yeah, that would be Counter-Strike, wouldn't it? Yeah, and if break-in is so vital, why aren't they doing it at the factory? So, to be honest, some factories might be doing it just to play into that nonsense. I only found one bag, and I probably should have found multiple bags of parts. I had a part order of a bunch of stuff. Oh, that's right. The Cabin Tech put them all together. No, they didn't. Or did I just order one part? I think I ordered 2 parts from Cabin Tech, didn't I? Maybe just the one. This would be the quad amplifier, the quad voltage-controlled amplifier chip. Hard to find. These, you know, Cabin Tech has all these hard-to-find chips that people use in modular synthesizers a lot. Modular synthesizers are a bit of a niche because everything has gone to digital audio, right? Everything's digital audio nowadays. In fact, some of these modules are, in fact, our VCO that I was just showing the circuit board of, that's also digital. Instead of actually having, well, this does have operational amplifiers, but instead of taking analog audio in and putting it through like filters and stuff, what this is doing is it takes analog audio in and it puts it to the analog input of a microcontroller. And then the microcontroller outputs a pulse width modulated signal that goes through what's called a Sallen-Key filter. Basically, a Sallen-Key filter is Flappy Bird. It's Flappy Bird. It's just Flappy Bird. It's Flappy Bird. That's all Sallen-Key filtering is. Sallen-Key filtering is you hit it with a PWM, and that PWM is you tapping the screen. And so that little Flappy Bird goes, I'm going back down. I'm going, no, now I'm back up. Now I'm back up. Oh, okay, now I'm going down again. That's a Sallen-Key filter. So the Sallen-Key filter is a way that our super fast microcontroller can go, and then it creates an audio waveform, right? And so that's what that's doing. The mixer, however, is going to be analog, so we don't have the ability to take in a bunch of signals into digital space, manipulate it, and then output it. We're not going to do that, and we don't have space for a microcontroller. So we're going to use this CD40. What the fuck is this thing? Hold on. Oh, the V2164M from Cool Audio. You can tell they're cool because the O's are actually musical notes. So if Cool Audio is one of these niche companies, even with certain like the CDM 3360 or something, it was some guy decided to create a microchip that was essentially voltage controlled synthesizer stuff, right? It was basically a VCO where all of your Eurorack signals and your standard synthesizer voltage level signals can go into this ASIC, and this ASIC would output a waveform, right? It was sort of all baked into the chip. There was one guy that made it. One guy made this chip, and he sold it all over the place. And then he died. And so the copyright went to his estate. Nobody could buy the chips anymore. And there was sort of this period of time where nobody could actually buy these very specific audio chips that were used in a lot of different designs, a lot of cool designs, a lot of instrument designs. The estate eventually said, all right, you guys can manufacture these chips. And so his widow actually allowed people to then manufacture the chips. This is what I'm talking about. These modular synthesizers, they have lore behind all of the different devices, but they allowed the chips to be created, and now we're able to buy them again. So I don't know what the story of Cool Audio is, but yeah, I don't know. These are all so hyper-specific in their functionality that you can only find them outside of the main channel. So sourcing them, I had to actually go through a place called Cabin Tech. And they were willing, they have on their website a whole bunch of these different chips that people use and the different versions of the chips. So in the M303 that we've been laboriously trying to repair, that had also another very specific chip that we were only able to source through Cabin Tech. Partnered with DBX. I don't get the joke. Oh, they're sunglasses. Are they? Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's how cool they are. They're cool Music Note sunglasses, O's. They're getting too much use out of that. All right, anyway. So we need to have one of these chips on this board so that we can make a test circuit. And I can test the mixer circuit and make sure that we've got the proper, you know, like clipping and functionality and stuff like that. So we're going to get a breakout board. Now, there's a couple different methods for breaking one of these chips out. If you've only got a surface mount chip, this thing is not going to work with the breadboard, obviously, right? So how do you get this thing to actually function on the perforated, no, the solder-less breadboard? Well, we're going to have to solder in order to do that. So the way that we can solder it is we can either do what's called dead bugging, or we can use a breakout board, or we could live bug it. I mean, we might have to live bug it. Dead bugging and live bugging. Live bugging is what I call my method of doing this stuff. My method of doing this stuff is to put down a piece of tape and then super glue the chip to the tape and then run jumpers from the pins. Dead bugging is when you glue the chip. Hold on, let me grab the chip here. So dead bugging is when you take your chip, and because it doesn't line up to these pins, you flip it over like a dead bug and you solder it down like this, and then you use wires to go from pin to pin, pin to pad. Live bugging is something I made up, and that's where I put down a piece of non-conductive tape, and then I glue the chip right side up because I'm too dumb to reconcile pin 1 versus pin 1. I always get it wrong, and I end up soldering things to the wrong parts. By the way, the way we count pin numbers on chips is derived from vacuum tubes. Vacuum tubes or a semicircle of pins, and so we count we count clockwise. If we're looking, you know, down from the top, we count clockwise around the pins. There's a gap, and then pin 1 is just clockwise from the gap. So pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because we're going clockwise around the circle. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, blah, blah, blah. So that's the way that we count pins. And of course, vacuum tubes led into canned transistors where they have the silicon die inside of a little like metal can. I was going to say tin can, it's not tin. Little metal can, and then the pins are semicircle, they're circular around the perimeter of the thing. They got little gold bonding wires in them. That eventually evolved into ceramic substrates and then into epoxy substrates like we see here, where in the middle of this thing, they deposit the little silicon chip and these little gold bonding wires to connect it to all the surrounding pins. But we kept it under clockwise, and so it goes around like that. When we have pin headers like this is a 0.1 inch spaced pin header with a shroud around it, because musicians can't be bothered to plug things in properly. They constantly are plugging these things in backwards, so we put a big pin in it, and that makes sure that they can't, even though they still do. But for this one, the pin out is a little bit different. What we do is we count from the pin with the arrow on it. Arrow, there's the arrow right there. And so with the arrow right there, that means that this is pin 1, this is pin 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As if just to confuse you. So that's what we're dealing with here. Anyway, we want to actually start working with this thing, so I need to get a breakout board for it. The easiest way for me to break it out is by using these little PCB adapters that they sell. They're really cheap now. They used to be very expensive, but I've got a bin full of them, and I don't know if we'll have the right one. And if we don't, that means that I'm going to have to make one out of the perforated prototyping that you see right there. I don't know. I mean, like clockwise row by row, or you could count up the row, or you could do every other pin. I've seen them all, man. You just got to know that one's crazy and the other's also crazy. It's a big memorization game. So the things that I got, what do I got? I mean, this one is sort of a breakout board, but it's got a lot of other stuff on it that we really don't need. And I think we've done this game before where I look for an SO16 and I just don't have it. Yeah, it doesn't look like I have it. So we're probably going to have to do live bugging today. Welcome to my live bug stream. That'd be kind of cool. You go around with a little mobile streaming setup. You go around looking at bugs. Like, ooh, look at that bug. I can't tell you the last time I've actually seen a weevil. We have weevils in North America, right? I think we do. I'm gonna go find a weevil. All right, so we're gonna live bug it. I'm remembering now that for the keyboard project, we didn't actually have a breakout board. So I've got to make one, which is easy enough. I used 30 gauge wire wrapping wire, Kapton tape, and perforated prototyping board. They like getting into grains. I'll tell you what got into the grains here. I had a bunch of barley that I was going to brew with. Well, I didn't brew with it for like 6 years, but just recently we had an infiltrator. We had a rat get into the house. And we think the rat came from a dumpster. There was construction nearby on one of the nearby houses. And so there was a dumpster across the street from our house. And we think that the rat came from there. But we had it chew on a whole bunch of stuff, including a completely inert silicon rubber dog bone treat mold. And we're going to make dog treats at some point. We bought the silicon mold to freeze. Rat got into it. And it chewed up an inert silicon rubber mold. But it got into a bunch of different stuff. And it got all the way down into the basement where it found my big bag of barley for brewing. My big brewing bag of barley. My big bitchy brewing bag of barley. And it chewed into that. Noxious. So I didn't get weevils, I got rats. I got rats. If you have a weevil problem, you got to toss all the grains out? Yeah. Yeah, because they'll get into everything and it's impossible to like make sure that they're... Don't they do like a heat treatment pasteurization kind of thing on the grains? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to get a 16-pin piece of this perforated prototyping board. Actually, we should look for a scrap piece instead of one that's got all the nice edges. We should look for something that's been cut up. Look for something that's been cut up. I have too many PCBs in this bin. Too many PCBs. Let's see. Down here, there's some stuff that's been cut into pieces. Yeah, we'll use this one. This one is a Raspberry Pi breakout board that I never used. Gonna use that on Burn the Subs. Should look into making some PCBs for Burn the Subs, huh? Some like wiring PCBs. I could have all of the components just have a little like wire that goes straight down into a PCB that would route everything properly. I don't know. Maybe that's not something that we do. I don't. We'll figure it out. Figure it out. What is our time? Oh, we got plenty of time. We're probably not going to get very far into building this circuit, and so I'm gonna look up those audio amplifiers on my own. I thought we'd be able to find it fairly quickly, but I need to go back and do a little bit of soul searching on my own and figure out what I want to get out of this thing. I would like to use a high definition audio driver. What that means is not much. It's sort of the same thing we ran into with the TL07-2 versus the TL06-2. TL06-2 is an operational amplifier that boasts high quality, noise-free, super duper low noise from the TL06-2 versus the TL07-2. And we found engineers bickering about it online, as they do with goddamn everything. And so the bickering centered around that noise, and it's like, do you hear a difference between the two at audio frequencies? And the answer may surprise you. No. The answer is just no. No, I don't hear a difference between the two because I don't have a bionic fucking ear. There was not that much noise on either of them, and it was indecipherable under audio frequencies. So the stupidity of the internet lives on in forums. So we're basically 4 pins across and then 16 pins down. So I got to cut this out according to that. So let's see, that one's a bus pin. We don't want that. Well, it's 4 and 8, sorry. 4 and 8. Jeez, that was tough to cut. I guess I cut it across the solid substrate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I lost it. Ultrasonic cleaner noises. Look, ultrasonic cleaner noises sound like a bunch of metal bees in an empty washing machine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're cutting this one. Oh God, I slipped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, that doesn't. Oh my God, I suck at this. Yeah, I got pretty bad tinnitus too. No, it's worse than tinnitus because it has like another frequency on it. So it sounds like scraping tinnitus. Horrible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's right above the R. So I want to preserve the one that's above the R. I'm going to go a little bit off of it. I need to double check that I got the pins right, but it went back behind stuff, and now I don't know where it is. By the way, chat, I love to hammer this one home. This is the biggest nerd opinion that I have. And it's not even an opinion. This is just straight up nerd fact, is that it's not called tinnitus. An itis is an inflammation. It is tinnitus. It's Latin. One, two, three. Welcome to my stream. 1, 2, 3, where we count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I got it right. Actually got it right. Get some lipo and bioflavonoids that seriously help with tinnitus. Lipo and bioflavonoids. Just do the thing at the back of your head where you flick the back of your head. It just comes back. It's a permanent condition that I got from speakers. Big concert speakers, working at concerts and being a dumbass. I really should have been like my nerdy friends that wear earplugs to everything. I still have really good hearing. I still have really good hearing because I had a wax plug in my ear. When I first, this is like 10, 15 years ago, I went to see my general practitioner, and he was giving me a once-over, and he was like, oh my God. And so he did this whole thing where he pulled it was like Shrek pulling out the candle from his ear. I had like a plug that was this long come out of my ear that was wax. And I think what that did is that preserved those very fine hairs that can hear the teenager alarm. I can hear the teenager alarm outside of the grocery store. It's terrible. But I still have tinnitus. My ears still ring. Got to eat them a week before they kick in. I don't think a particular food is going to repair inner ear damage. I'm of a mind. And tinnitus is all about perception. As long as you can have very severe cases, but for me, it is a constant background thing. And if it's bothering me particularly, you can do the trick where you flick your ear, and that should kind of make it go away. Those should be illegal. That's just because you're a teenager or were recently a teenager. Apparently, a lot of people grow out of it. Tinny tuss. You have a tinny tush. I don't like that one. That sounds creepy. Ow! Doing this filing sucks. It sucks because I slip and then I nastify my nails with it. But yeah, those teenager alarms are very annoying. The Acme that I used to go to when I was in Virginia had one there, and it was just this like chirping. But if I was ever a teacher, I would be able to identify the students that had that stupid ringtone that adults can't hear. The anti-adult one. Oh, I got to read this properly. My ringing was caused by a 671 Detroit diesel running full throttle on my dad's water well drill. How'd I do? Is that what you sound like in life? I think that is what Jay Ramsey sounds like. No file system available in P#. What? What are you talking about? that happens, got to get them removed at least once or twice in life. No, you shouldn't have to get them removed once or twice in life. Every now and then, I will take a syringe and fill it with hydrogen peroxide and fill my ear with my head tilted with hydrogen peroxide and let that bubble away for a little while. It sounds like the intro to an Orbital song. And then once it's done kind of crackling, making its little bubbly crackle, you put like a paper towel or just something like a napkin up to the side of your ear and tilt back over, and all that nastification stuff should fall out. And you can go, ooh, ah, as you look at all your gross human booger garbage that's made its way onto the paper towel. Nobody ever listens to me. Sorry. Listen, you're a chat member. You should know. It's what they tell you to do at the Deaf Hearing Center. Oh, the Deaf End Hearing Center. I see. Yeah, no, the peroxide thing does really well. And then you can hear colors. It's induced synesthesia. I'm trying to like get the edges to look semi-professional on this and not have like jagged cut edges. They don't need to. I just want to do that because it'll look good. The other question is, do we have room for the IC in the middle of this? We should. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle at this being this close, but I should be able to run wire to all of the appropriate locations. And I got super glue in the cabinet behind me. There are online audio testers. The question is just if your audio equipment is capable of producing those frequencies, which I think most are. That you can run like a 2 to 20 kilohertz sweep. Damn it! I gotta get that off the floor. I'm from Eastern Kentucky originally, and I still have a good accent. I can't do like specifics of Southern accents because I don't know what the regional breakdown is. I can just do silly Southern accent. Where did the board go? Oh no. Where did it go? I heard it. Oh, it's directly under me. Okay, there we go. But it didn't go far. Sometimes things hit on like an edge and just fly away. Bonk. I was born in the hospital of West Philadelphia, so I have a Philadelphian accent, which is not the accent that I was just speaking in. High frequencies are really difficult acoustically due to diffraction. Electronically, the stuff can do the frequencies, yeah, but it can't move the speaker cone fast enough in order to create those vibrations. And you'll see a drop-off on headphones, and that's what a lot of those headphone testing websites help you figure out, because you can actually play an audio tone that's always at the same amplitude, and you can hear whether the sound pans right and left or where it starts dropping off and becoming quiet. Oh, yeah, or the speaker moves and it cancels out its own wave, yeah. We are dealing with like air particles that are vibrating. Okay, so pin headers. We need pin headers on either side of this thing so that I can interface with this board. So I get out my pin headers. Oh God, the pin header bin, oh, fuck's sake. God damn it. Well, they're all contained within the container of pin headers, but the pin header bin opened up, which is a disaster because a lot of small parts went into that bin over there. These are like sewing project bins. So a lot of the stuff is down there and a lot of it's right there. God damn it. The planars seem neat for this in theory. Yeah, planar headphones but they're so specialized. I don't know. Like, oh, you got to be super careful around them. Otherwise they'll explode and you're out $1,500 for just like one headphone. One side of the headphones. I need 8 pins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, this is 9 pins. Clip. It's one side of it. So that's going in here. On one side of the solderless breadboard. Yeah, 3K on the low end. Well, you can shop around a little bit with those. I think they're getting cheaper. But they're so specialized and so crazy. It's like, oh, you got to keep the volume down. And you got to listen in a special, you got to sit in your special chair after you've got a transfusion of a teenager's blood. And then you can properly listen to your planar headphones. I'm struggling to find a square pin header. So, see, the thing is, I have two different kinds of pin headers here. And the two different types of pin headers, there's like hair and stuff in here because I've dropped this before and had to pick it up off the floor. And we have a corgi puppy, and corgis that have long hair shed quite a lot. So having dropped the pin headers on the floor and picking them up as such, this thing got full of dog hair. So I apologize. I don't live like this, although I kind of do, but usually things are a little cleaner on the microscope. But I have two kinds of pin headers. I have square pin headers, and then I have these circular pin headers. These circular pin headers, somebody told me they were German, but I don't think that's correct. But anyway, the circular pin headers interface a little differently. They're nice for like doing standoffs for projects and stuff. Like if you need a circuit board sitting on a circuit board, I'll use them for that. But on the prototyping breadboard, they don't have as much length as your normal pin headers. And so using them as a low profile standoff is fine. Putting them in the solderless breadboard is fine. It's just this pops out of the breadboard quite a lot. Whereas the square pins, your more common header, will fit in and stay in on those little flat clips. So what I'm looking for is a square pin header that has 8 pins. And due to the way that I stock things around here, it seems like I'm actually running out of square pin headers that aren't weird right angle affairs. Weirdo right angle pin headers. I could combine 2 headers and this thing could be a total Frankenstein job, which I guess is totally fine. What? I saw some people sending JLPCB CAD files for flex PCB circuits. For what? Yeah, I've been considering using JL to do flex PCB stuff. I want to do a flex PCB for the keyboard project so that I can make my backup keyboard actually work again. Because for a while I was using my backup keyboard, which is a code 10 keyless that a friend gave to me, and I spilled something on it because I'm an idiot. I spilled something on it and it broke because the code keyboards are just extremely prone to stuff spilling on them and it breaking the entire keyboard. They put the processor for the keyboard way down low, and for some reason it's super duper sensitive to moisture. Whereas when I replace it with a Pico Pi, that's up in the upper left-hand corner of the keyboard, and it actually is way less prone to dying from moisture. So I've actually accidentally almost spilled something on the keyboard, on the keyboard redo that we did, and it survived. So yeah, I'm definitely planning on doing that job. Oh, this one's already 8 pins. Perfect. I'm planning on doing that Redux job to the backup keyboard as well. And then I can just be sloppy with my drinks. Planar magnetic headphones using thin flex PCB. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. They've also been, some of the makers out there, and I don't know what the status of this stuff is because all of the electronics makers have moved to Blue Sky. If you're interested in Blue Sky, I do have an account there. Mine is O-bother, not underscore. I did a dash. I have all kinds of options with my screen name. It's O_bother is my brand. The problem is Blue Sky does not allow you to have an underscore. And like I can use words like brand to describe my streaming and stuff, but I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I have like 5 viewers, right? I'm nothing. So if I go to Blue Sky Central and I say, hello, Blue Sky, would it be all right if you did a thing for my brand? And literally all they have to do is put in like, what is that code called again? Regex. They have to just put like a character into regex that says, hey, this is okay too, for the underscore, but they're not going to do that. So same thing with Twitch. With Twitch, they will not allow characters, like special characters, into the prefixes of emotes. OH_, although you would have to hit shift in order to activate it, I wanted to have OH_ as the prefix for all of my emotes. They're not going to do it. I'm too small beans for them to even care. My beans are tiny. But so, yeah, so Blue Sky, I wasn't able to do underscore, but I was able to do dash. So o-bother at blue or whatever, Blue Sky, whatever, if you guys are interested. And then if you're interested in all of the makers that have moved over from Twitter, we finally had enough of fucking Twitter, you know, pushing us around, fucking stupid platform that it is. I never liked Twitter. I was just on it begrudgingly as a way to inform people that my stream was happening or not. So we've moved over to Blue Sky. If you look at my posts and you scroll down on my posts, you'll see a list of makers that have moved to Blue Sky. You click that and you click follow, and you've now followed hundreds of maker accounts that are doing cool stuff. But before I left Twitter for whatever kind of a hellhole it is now, there were some people that were working on PCB magnets. So they had so many layers on the PCB that they were able to put coils in it. And so they were able to actually make a decently strong electromagnet in a flat PCB. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so the question is, can we actually fit all 16 pins onto this board as well as the wires for them? And I think we'll be able to. It's not going to be easy, but I think we'll be able to do it with the wire wrapping wire. PCB-based DC motors. That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, those, I wonder if you could combine PCB magnets with Flexa-PCB planar headphone drivers. Need to switch over, especially since Muskie Bio had a hand in the current situation. Seriously, man. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, maintain a smile. Continue to smile. Everything is great. We're just gonna smile. Hopefully I don't get sent to an incinerator in the next couple of years. Only 4. We'll be fine. All right, so we're doing a little bit of soldering. This could be considered ASMR, visual ASMR soldering stream. I got ahead of the thing as much as I could, but my account is still just deactivated 2 days into the new toss. Huh. What's the new toss? I'm just leaving the Twitter account to fester. Because I like 500 followers on Twitter. This is nice for a while. I built that up over several years. Now those Blue Sky group follows are really useful because a lot of people have been following them. And so all the tech bro maker guys, is really not just guys, obviously it's just, I say tech bro because we're all like bro. But no. It's just a bunch of people who make stuff, make cool stuff. And it's really nice to see some of the projects that people are working on in a chronological feed. In a feed that's actually chronological. It makes sense. Okay, so the one thing that we don't want out of this perforated prototype board is the holes in the center. They're getting in the way. We don't need them there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get what's called Kapton tape. Kapton tape. It sounds like it's sci-fi, and, you know, it's not like this stuff is in space. Wait a sec, there's lots of this stuff in space. This stuff is both used here in the project shop and in aeronautical scenarios. The Moon rover, or rather the Lunar rover, if you look, and the Mars rover. If you look at the Mars rover up close and some of the selfies that it's taken, you can see that the wiring harnesses are wrapped in this stuff. This is Kapton tape. This is a 3M product. You can also buy it not in 3M, and I'm sure you guys will probably chime in and tell me what the material is, because it's a material name that you're looking up. But this stuff you can put a soldering iron up to and it doesn't even flinch. The adhesive on it also withstands the high temperature of the soldering iron. It's also pretty damn insulative. Polyamide, there's that word that I always forget. Polyamide is the name of the material. It's a very good material. I'm sure it's shit for the environment, but we don't use very much here. And so the double-sided adhesive material is something that I would very much like them to apply to copper tape, but they don't. I can't find that anywhere. I can't find it anywhere. I can't find it anywhere. The copper tape that they have, they always boast that it's conductive, and the people who do stained glass with it don't notice that when you get it hot, it just moves around. The adhesive just becomes a shitty gel when you heat it up enough. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. Why? Why do they do this? Why do they do this? Why don't they make tape that has copper on it? this stuff with copper, the same adhesive. I don't care about it conducting. I want to make circuits out of this stuff. I want to repair circuits with this stuff. There is PCB repair tape, and it's magically expensive. You can get a roll of copper tape, but it's the stuff that turns into goop when you heat it up. It's so obnoxious. And I think it has something to do with the adhesive being conductive. I don't know. Yeah, Flexi PCBs are just copper substrate in between two layers of Kapton that have been manipulated in order to be like a solder mask. And so the PCB flexes and this stuff insulates. It's pretty cool. It's not that, but it is that simple. So we use the tape here as an insulator. Insulator. There's this road near me that's called Croton Road. It's by the mall. I guess it's not near me anymore, but it's by the King of Prussia Mall. It's called Croton Road. And so every time my friend and I would drive by, we'd be like, Croton! It's you, Croton, my biggest enemy. Fear not, for I have the laser ray. I don't know if it's still available. Way back in the day, for me, there was copper tape, and it was used for creating circuits. You can use it to create circuits, but the stuff that they have now, the conductive adhesive that they all boast that they have, like it's the most common thing you can find, turns into soup. So if I were, and this is what I've done in the past, to throw down a piece of copper tape as a trace, as a pseudo trace on a circuit board, and try to solder to it, it will move. It'll just slide around on the circuit board. And so I have a couple different copper tapes because people kept telling me, oh, this is what you're looking for. This is the one you're looking for. This is what you're looking for. Chad is so confident with my money. And I bought it, and it was shit. I tried your toothpaste. It made me feel like a piece of shit. So yeah, I don't trust Chad anymore. Somebody did link me to circuit repair tape, and I think that might be the right stuff, but it was incredibly expensive. We've made a mistake. We have erred. I need to have 6 rows of holes. Well, here we are again. Hoisted by my own petard. All right, put this aside. Damn it. It needs to be, I need 2 more rolls of holes. I flip copper tape upside down, epoxy it to the board, and then wash off the adhesive. You can wash that off? Uh-oh, I hear a dog barking outside. That means Will is about to go psycho. Yeah, there she goes. I hear her. Will has like a gruff bark. She's kind of like a baritone of dogs. Which is good, because it's much less annoying. 5 would be fine, but I don't know. That bugs me. It needs to be even. I'm going to put that there. Maybe someday we'll need it. Maybe someday I'll need a bunch of resistors on a board. I don't know. That sucked. let's find something I can use. Let's start that over. That whole process. That was so laborious. It took so long. And in the end, it doesn't even matter. This is 6, so I can just do 6 by 8 on this. A little bit more room for the circuit, for the wires to fan out from that chip will be well purposed. So we'll just give it those extra little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Double check. That one's really close to the edge, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Just like that. That looks pretty good. I'm going to lop off these edges a little bit. Willa's trying to join in by doing her little howl bark. So instead of ruff, 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 she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And sometimes her voice cracks when she does it too. Yeah, measure, then measure again, then measure a 3rd time, and then measure 2 times, then measure another time, and then cut, and then measure again, and realize you got it wrong, and then cut again, and maybe a 3rd cut, but then you measure. Do you even have a kingdom? Wait, what was I talking about when I said, was I a Croton? Oh no, King of Prussia. Yeah, that's the local mall here. That's our local mall. It's one of the biggest ones in the country, though. Pretty cool. But the problem is they have trouble air conditioning it because now our climate is like tropical. And the mall has such wide open spaces and it's a giant solar oven. So they have a lot of trouble keeping it cool in the summers. What tool is that? I'm over here cutting boards with a hacksaw. It's a wire stripper. It's just a wire stripper. It does really well with the proto boards. It does really well with it. I've been using it for years to do that. This is the Italian CSP31. This does the higher gauge, the smaller wires for, you know, like building wiring harnesses and soldering and stuff like that. But what it also boasts is a pretty well-made pincher portion that extends all the way to the end of this thing. And so this is a little bit less reliable for cutting the PCBs, but I don't need it to be perfect. So if I'm cutting a long distance, I'll just kind of score as far as this thing likes to, go to the other side, score again, and then crack it. You know, that's one way to do it. At one of the three-letter agency shops, electronics shops that we had, wait, what's going on here? Why is that being clicked? We actually had a, it was like a shear. It's a huge mechanical shear that we would use to cut the PCBs. But like, this is totally fine. This works really well. I have a coworker that's originally from King of Prussia. I used to live up the hill from King of Prussia Mall. I was very much a mall rat in my day. I worked at a bookstore in the mall for a little while. Jeans, books, and porn. There was a porno section that I wasn't allowed to go in. It was full of porn that was just at a mall bookstore. And it was funny working there as a 14-year-old because somebody would come up with a bunch of porn magazines, and I would scan them and move it to a new pile. Scan it, move it to a new pile. Scan it, move it to a new pile. And they would hide the really weird porn on the bottom thing, on the bottom magazine. But since it was first in, last out, it ended up on the top of the stack. The exact opposite of their intentions. And I was just a kid working at the time, and they had these bags that were translucent, which means that you weren't able to see through them. You can't see through translucence. You can almost see through translucence. You can't. But if you choose a bag that's small and you have a magazine that's directly up against the translucent material, plastic material, it's pretty visible. So I ended up ringing up these guys, and they were just blasting to the rest of the whoever's in the mall that they were buying porn from the store. The reason we call it Jeans, Books, and Porn, I knew the namesake of the store. He was a friend of mine, you know, high school friend. And we went to the music store that was nearby, Sam Ash. And we were like, yeah, his dad has a store in the mall. It's actually Jeans Books. He's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. He got a bunch of his friends together. These Jeans, Books, and Porn. We go there at lunch. I love Pennsylvania. All right, so let's get 2 more 8-pin headers. There's no hiding from the store clerk. I don't know why they decided to have that kind of bag. That was the worst kind of bag, especially if your bookstore is known throughout the mall as being the porn store. You should probably have an opaque bag. Yeah, just buy some hardcover books to go on either side, you know? I don't know, if you're getting your porn from a bookstore, you're probably not thinking on all those levels. It was a fun job. That was a stupid job that all my friends could visit me during. I think everybody should have to work retail at some point in their lives, because you start to realize how dumb all of us are. You start to realize how dumb, just chronically, like how do you not drown in a rainstorm kind of dumb people can be. Oh, you've got the same name. It's Jeans Books. Yeah, no, this is Gene of Jeans Books. This is the namesake of the store. Oh, are you related? Oh. Just, why do we drink? It's because of retail. The people you have to deal with in retail. All right, so we've made our own 8-pin headers because my header situation is a little bit dire at the moment. With headers, you order them once or twice a year, maybe. No, once every couple of years, you order them in super bulk, and you go, oh my God, I spent $50 on headers, and then for the rest of the time, you treat them as if they are completely useless. They have no value associated with them at all whatsoever. You throw pin headers away, you accidentally cut the wrong number of pins and toss them out. They are valueless for the rest of the time. That's just how you treat pin headers. But unfortunately, they are a little bit expensive when you buy them in bulk. Although you don't realize that you're buying 600 for those $40. It's still just one of those things when you're running an engineering setup, you don't sweat the small stuff. You just kind of go for it. You yeet into everything that you do. Boy howdy, if I had a tabulation of how much money I've wasted just being like that. That's how I treat DP-DT switches. I have several bins of those now, and yes, now I can actually treat them the same way. I never used to. I very much coveted all of my switches as being super special, unique little snowflakes that I would, talk to at night. I read them bedtime stories and just made sure that everybody was good and happy, had them all switched in the same direction. But now I have 600,000 of them, and I don't have to care. Because when you're soldering those things, they don't have through-hole pins. They have wire tab pins. And those wire tab pins are not only thick, but they hold on to a ton of heat. And that ton of heat goes into a plastic substrate that is the minimum acceptable plastic for the cost of the switch. And so if you accidentally apply heat for too long, the pin will melt around the substrate and just break the switch. It'll just break the switch. You got to be careful with stuff like that. Things with big tabs, and if you're using a big soldering iron, they just eat themselves. Pin headers will do the same thing. And so actually when you're soldering these types of pin headers to a thing, if you have an option to, plug something into them. Plug anything into them. Just a little bit of alignment and a little bit of heat soaking helps quite a bit. And I'm not talking about Mormon soaking where somebody jumps on the bed. I'm talking about the heat soaking into the metal tabs that are in this plastic board keeps us from melting any of the plastic that you see in front of you. I'm going to get comments again today. I hate living in the situation that I'm living in. I don't appreciate it a lot. I do not have exactly a private studio. I basically have said, please just don't come downstairs with cookies while I'm doing my thing, because I try to be as professional as possible. But when I get really heated in these discussions and I get loud, people hear me, and then I get comments at the end of the day. And there's nothing worse for somebody that does like a show for you to make oh, you were really loud today. Like, that's not good. That fills me with self-conscious thoughts. But I'm going to get a comment like that today, and I just have to kind of swallow it. It's not a compliment. But I'm feeling good today, and I'm being really animated, and I'm swallowing down all of my sadness. Swallow it down until it becomes an ulcer, chat. Just let it be a kidney stone. You got to smile. Okay, so we're back where we were a minute ago. Well, no, I still need to do the Kapton tape. Let me do the Kapton tape real quick. I think this is actually the width of the Kapton tape that I was using. It is the width of the Kapton tape that I was using. That's pretty good. Let's see if we can get this done. Yeah, the truths that I speak are out of experience. I'm a little bit older than the average Twitcher. All you young whippersnappers. I think actually my chat trend's a little bit older. But, yeah, I've been around doing this stuff for a long time. Since Nuts and Volts, the magazine, where they told you that the basic stamp was the way of the future. There's like 3 people in their 20s. I know, I think I need to appeal to Gen Z a little bit more. Copper, tell me, does appealing to Gen Z mean I need to hate women? Is that what I need to do? Because I kind of draw the line there. From what I've been hearing, that's apparently what relates to Gen Z. No, that's not what I've been hearing. I am just ribbing you. I am just ribbing you. Well, not you. I'm just ribbing Gen Z. That's Gen Alpha. I see. Yeah, because they got all scrambled up from the pandemic, didn't they? These guys don't realize that you just need to go touch grass every now and then. Have a conversation with a real person. Not someone who's trying to sell you shit. Talk to a neighbor. Talk to a friend. Go touch grass. Don't hate women. It's not hard. These are not hard things. The lack of dating scene. Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? It's the whole change in how we interact with people around us that's tough. I have a friend who moved into one of those like housing things that's near the mall, I guess. But the thing is, like, what they've done is they've attached all of these like bulk housing units to strip malls. And so they've got this like outdoor area that looks like a kind of like a college campus. And there's like tons of people actually enjoying like living in these sort of weird outside areas that have like Outback Steakhouse attached to them. And it's the strangest thing. It looks like the pamphlet. You know how they put all the like diverse people on the pamphlet and you're like, haha, that's kind of fake. Nobody's gonna like enjoy the space like that. They do, they're all out there. My friend and I were walking through to pick up our friend at one, and we were like, this is creepy. Like, what is this? This is insane. This looks like an architectural rendering where they put a bunch of people enjoying the outdoor space, like just walking around and like, oh, look at this fountain. But apparently people do that. But then when we went to pick up the friend, he lives in like one of the units in this huge apartment, like people storage area, like all the sci-fis where they have the living quarters in a big spaceship and everything's minimized. That's what it seemed like. And it was like this horror movie hallway where everything was designed exactly the same. And it just went, you could see the perspective lines all leading into the center on door after door after door after door after door, just going straight down the perspective of this hallway. And it's mind boggling. I'm like, this is it? This is everything? No. We got to make a right and then a left. What do you mean? We go all the way down to the wall at the end, make a right. There's another hallway that looks exactly like that. And we made a right, left, and a right to get to his place. And his place was just another red door that had a different number next to it. I would never find my way out of that place. I would die. I would be a skeleton in one of the corridors because it's insane. It's just insane. The only advice given by people in my area seemed to be find a wife at church. I mean, you know, I guess if you're going to find like-minded people in the same township, in the same area where you're not going to have to do something long distance, church is one of the places, I guess. But I mean, like social functions, and I mean, at my age, it would be like take a class in something. My age is particularly tough. I'm, you know, getting up there. I think I pretty much missed the boat. I'm fine with that, but it's, you know, take a class in something that's not just a guy activity. I know some of my neighbors here are 20 years older than me, and they are they do things like mahjong and then like stuff like that. Although I think maybe a lot of their activities are not things that guys would do, but even still, it's just something to get yourself out of the house and meet people. So it's about getting out of your comfort zone. Take a dance class. Is that a thing single people do? I'm not sure. Or you had blind date confessionals. Or like rent one of those signboard airplanes. And it'll just say, hey, my phone number is... This is bad advice, by the way. All right, super glue. We're just going to glue it down with super glue. Oh, I see. You're in one of those places where that's pretty much the social activity, huh? Well, I guess that's the appeal of the city, huh? You got a lot of those kinds of things going on. But yeah, people don't just like go to bars and meet other people anymore. It's tough. I mean, you know, there's all shifting perspectives constantly from generation to generation. All right, so we're going to put a big dollop of our gel super glue right in the middle. All we need is for that to hold it on a little bit, and not to mention that super glue hates high temperature. You know, you can do a when you're like milling and machining stuff, you can do a super glue shuck where you just glue the metal to something, and that's fine. If you want to remove it, you add temperature. You apply temperature to it. We're going to be soldering directly to this part, so who knows how well it's going to be held in place, not to mention the fact that I just screwed up the gluing. But what we're going to try to do, we're just going to put a big dollop of glue in the middle and then place this thing roughly in the center so that it doesn't bug us how asymmetrical it becomes. And then we'll solder wires directly to the pins. I do it this way because that way I don't have to think about the parallax of the whole thing. Now, in some of these, when I have it lining up just right, or I have fewer pins than this, I will even expose pieces of these in order to make anchor pins. So I'm going to have unshielded wire coming through here. How much is that? It's going to go up and over, and then this one's going to barely sneak by. We've done this number of pins before. We can do it with the stuff that doesn't have insulation on it, but if it were a little less tight than this, I've glued my tweezers together. If it was a little less tight than this, I would solder down these end pins in order to anchor this thing in place. Or I could even do these. I could just expose just a little bit of this here, and then I could solder those in and it would hold it in place. But instead, we are going to rely on a big dollop of superglue underneath this thing. Doesn't it make cyanide gas when it heats up? Not enough for it to matter. And I have a big fan on my back. I don't like how this thing is pivoting the way it is. I guess we just got to let it dry, but I'm gonna end up blowing away this stuff right here, that little bit of it. Hopefully it's spread out enough to kind of give us a good lock on the thing. It takes a minute or two without an accelerator. I don't have an accelerator. All these electronics projects that I've taken under my wing are taking way too much time. I want to have a punchy, fun, quick electronics romp. I want to be like, let's do this, bam! And everything is super duper exciting, and we get all this kind of stuff done, and you guys get to see all the cool stuff that happens with circuits. The number one complaint that I've gotten from people who have watched my show who aren't electronics experts is that more stuff needs to happen. I ham it up and I talk cool to you guys, and I appreciate your input even though I hate you. But in spite of all that, I do need to make more stuff happen on screen. We're trying to get progress done. The way I do things takes a little bit of time. So thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate this very much. I'm trying to get all these things done. I got to get these things done because we need to clock a couple more wins. That's what this one is all about. This is an easy thing. We've got boom, 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 like thing. And when I get this part done, we will have this voltage controlled mixer that we can play with and figure out how it works. Yeah, it can't be a lot of the gas. I don't think it produces that much gas. I only foam at the mouth a little bit. Less stuff needs to happen. I don't want to feel overstimulated. I've never heard that comment before. Not even once. And we should get back to gaming on Saturday. I don't know if I've got it in me this Saturday. I don't have a lot in me this week. Don't have a lot in me this week. So Saturday, I don't think we'll do a game stream, but in the near future, we will do another game stream. But the problem is, like, I could bring you guys in with me in Abiotic Factor, but I'm just now getting to the DLC, which is pretty far advanced, the Halloween DLC. So I don't know, maybe if they do another update, we could do that. But it's not going to be a lot of the beginning stages of that game. We did Jedi Knight 2 in the past, Jedi Academy, which was fun for me, but I don't know if it was fun for you guys to watch the camera jerking around all over the place. If we were into stuff happening, we wouldn't be here. Look, I want wider audience appeal. I always want that. Yeah, we have something like 50 people, but we're getting more YouTubers, which is nice. What a week already. I fell asleep at midnight for my time once. A rarity. Yeah, I've actually been going to bed at midnight. That's been a new thing for me. Maybe it's because I'm getting old, but it's better for me. Foam a bit more. I'm foaming! Man, they used to do foam parties. Do they still do those? You need to go to a foam party, Copper. And get all kinds of transmittable diseases from that foam. Yeah, okay, that's all locked in place. So the trick to doing this method is the wire. So the wire, just disgusting foam parties. They had this piece of like equipment that makes a whole bunch of soapy foam that really stings when it gets in your eyes, and they fill the club with foam up to your waist. It's an absolutely terrible idea. Disgusting. But that was the thing. That was all the rage. Back at the goth club. Yeah, I used to go to the goth club. So, all right. A majority of the club goers are in their late 30s and 40s. Yeah, my generation decided that they wouldn't stop going to the club. We decided, screw it, we're going to party until we're 60, which is great. Those are the people I went to Burning Man with. They're actually a little older than I was at the time. We had a good time, though. We had kind of the rat camp. We were just a bunch of grody camp goers. Are your practical skills from personal practice or work? You're a lot better at soldering and general practical things than what I usually see from engineers in Denmark. Yeah, that's actually something that I've been approached about from university professors, saying that these engineers that are coming out of school, these scientists and engineers that are coming out of school, they don't know how to solder because they don't have any practical course applications in this stuff. My skills in soldering are both personally trained and somewhat manipulated by government officials, which is a lot cooler sounding than it actually is. I had a couple jobs with like the FBI and stuff like that where we had soldering shops, and so I talked to those technicians and sort of chewed the fat about soldering techniques and stuff. So the wire wrap wire used as just a general purpose interconnect wire, something that came to me from one of those shops at the FBI Tech Center, Center for whatever technology. That method, so that's their method. It probably was the personal method of one of the engineers there. It probably came from somewhere else. It's not theirs specifically. A lot of the other stuff, like how to position your hands and steady your hands and stuff like that, all of those recommendations are me. That's just skill over time and stuff that I found that helps me. And a lot of it is actually melded with welding, because when you weld, you want to be as comfortable as possible so that you can properly move your limbs in a particular way. So part of the whole anchoring yourself using like one singular finger, that's something that I do. And I don't know where it came from. It came from me. So, but yeah, when you do a college course, a lot of the engineering is going to be math. A lot of the stuff is going to be design and math, and they might, like in like half a sentence in an E&M course, say, that's why you don't want to route traces this way. And you're like, whoa, wait, what was that? I don't know. They're probably electronics specific. I didn't take electronics in college. I took robotics and motors, which are a little bit different from your base electronics design. I took a look at E&M, and it was like, what? Wait a minute. This is electricity and magnetism course. Where am I? What does that mean? Why are you erasing that? That was my experience in E&M, and so I dropped the course, which I didn't need for motors and control. I wanted to take E&M so that I would understand circuit board layout and stuff like that, and I didn't really get there until I graduated, and I studied under an RF engineer, and he kind of taught me a bunch of little weird things about RF that I've taken to my grave. No, I've taken to this stream to teach about. But the techniques and the specific things that I do are experiential. That's stuff that I do over and over and over again, and that's why I know how to do this stuff. They don't often teach you this stuff unless you're specifically taking like a technician's course in working with electronics. So, all right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this 30 gauge wire in order to bridge our pins to our pins. Our peens. We're going to peen our peens with solder. Don't try this at home. Or do try this at home over and over again. So I'm going to keep the big tip on here and see if I can get away with it. Let's see if I can get away with this. You want the largest tip that you can get away with, because that way you have all of that heat inertia to add to the thing you're soldering. Colleges are still semi-online, only in lab stuff. I don't know. I went to college in the 2000s, so we were in person the whole time at the university, and we had lab courses, and we had, I don't know, did we have? I don't think we really had any labs that involved soldering. We did a whole wire wrapping thing. We did wire wrapping for one of them. A good fume extractor, or just have like a fan on you. Just have a fan on you. Crack a window. I always have the window open here. It's just because I'm in the basement. It gets hot. Too hot or too cold. And so I regulate the temperature in here by having a window open. So if you have a window open, you have a fan on you, That should do enough fume extraction. If you find the fumes are going in your face too much, that's bad. You don't want fumes in your face. That's where you're going to absorb all that bullshit that's in the solder and the flux and all that stuff. So if you have solder in your face constantly, then you may want to evaluate some kind of a fume extraction for yourself. But those little like computer fan fume extractors are useless. Open cell foam that's been carbon activated is for water. It's not for air. That's not going to purify the air at all, because air fits through all those big gaps in the foam. It's completely pointless. This is going to burn my hand because I'm holding it too close. When I was a little boy, when I was a young boy, when I was a little boy, my brother's friend had a total meltdown after a sleepover. They were tired because it was a sleepover, right? Kids play for a long time during sleepovers. He had a total meltdown because his laser tag toy, and I'm talking about that late 70s laser tag where you have the helmet that has that big light on the top, and it's like that, the black laser tag, the sleek laser tag thing. He had that, and it broke. And he was so sad about this because it was, you know, totally gone and unrepairable. Well, it turned out it was just one of the wires busting off of the PCB. And it was super easy to solder again. And so when I heard my brother, or maybe not my dad doesn't know anything about this stuff. It was probably my brother or his friends, whatever, was trying to console him and said, look, it's so easy to fix. We can just solder that back together. And so I said, soldering, I want to learn what that is. I want to be able to fix toys. So that's what sort of pushed me throughout time to learn all of this stuff. It's the fierce independence of being able to fix your own bullshit and not break down crying. Now I break down crying because I can't figure out what the fuck a circuit is broken for. Why is the M303 broken? Why? Why are you like this? Why do you do this to me? Me specifically. Why is it so quiet? I don't know. I don't know. I'm really frustrated at the 303 circuit. I need to do the reverse engineering on it, I guess, in order to figure out what is going on with it. Why is it like this? Why is it the way that it is? Why does it disappoint me so much? What's that? Very interesting. I flopped electromagnetism a time or two. I probably should have tried again. It was way too much of the kind of math that I didn't really like. Linear algebra kind of spoiled me in terms of like, oh my God, it suddenly clicks and now everything is vastly easier than it has been in the past. Linear algebra will do that to you. If you know physics math, you got to learn some linear algebra. Blow your mind. It's so easy once everything kind of clicks and makes sense, because matrices are so forgiving. You're like, I want to move this row around, and the matrix math is like, yeah, sure, move that row around, whatever, I don't give a fuck. And your equations just suddenly super duper simplify, and everything is just like easy and happy, and everybody's laughing and smiling. But with the math in E&M, everybody was like mugging at me, and they were mean, and they were giving me weird looks, and they were like, you don't know how to do that? And I was like, I hate this. And so I ended up not going through with E&M again. I said, my GPA does not need this right now. But yeah, anyway, so what else do you guys say? Hold on, I'll get to you guys in just a second. I cut that one a little too close. Let's bring that in a little bit here. So yeah, these are kind of self-taught techniques, and I've done this by basically soldering myself into a corner too many times. This is fortunately not the portion of the project where I try to make the whole circuit on perforated prototyping board, and then midway through something breaks in my brain and I go, $5 circuit boards wouldn't do this to me, and so I end up designing a circuit board. Nice to see somebody using good solder techniques. Oh, I'm glad I'm doing things the right way, because sometimes I catch a lot of flack, especially when I'm doing a perforated prototyping board circuit for things not looking pretty, and everybody hates it. But the things you see on like Twitter and YouTube especially, those guys are all pristine. They all, you know, their shit don't stink. A lot of this stuff is putting something together that looks hideous and making it work. But, you know, you get the perfection of YouTube because everything has to be so visual these days. I think it looks pretty. I appreciate you. I doubt that it's entirely true. The IKEA VOC filter is hex lattice activated charcoal. So the contact of air within it is low, but it'll still somehow. I'm talking about computer fan soldering fume extractors. I have one, and it's just this terrible open cell foam. It's not worth it. It doesn't do anything. And the only reason that it's reducing the amount of smoke is because it's churning up the air in that fan. You'll probably mess it up yet. Well, thank you for the confidence. Did my iron turn itself off? No. Yeah. So yeah, we just got to go down the row and do this. When I was editing my YouTube videos, I would have to fast forward through them. And it was funny to watch myself soldering something like this in fast forward because it's all the same movements over and over again. So it's like boop, 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 boop. It looked so easy. But this is how we prototype something that has sort of a rare chip that's surface mount. We need to do sort of a solderless breadboard circuit in order to figure out if the idea in my head is viable. We do this. We simply attach wires from pins to pins to break out the board. You don't necessarily need to buy a breakout board. Although to be fair, if you are paying a bunch of engineers to test circuits, it is very much a saver of time to grab the proper breakout board. This is not that rare of a type of breakout. So buying just a little PCB that'll break out these pins is cheap and it saves you all this time. But this is sort of a little bit of a, I don't know, we can just kind of sit here and turn our brains off, do a little bit of soldering. I do IPC standard soldering for my job, but I definitely don't at home. It's more than overkill. Yeah, I've got a fan, I've got a floor fan on my back, and the shop has the window open right now. So typically that's enough. You know, I used to run a laser wood etcher in here alongside of the stream. So you can imagine it smelled a little bit, although it did actually smell like somebody lit a match instead of smelling like anything too horrible. But a lot of people are very gung-ho about safety, and I understand it. I understand it completely, but I can only do so much. Going through fixing file names, Cowboy Bebop had an episode where Betamax, yeah, the episode where they're checking out Earth and there's a Betamax store. I do remember that one. In a sunken office building. I forget what they found on it. Wasn't it a video about Faye? I think it was. All right, there. Oh man, welcome to the Tedium Dome. Today we have an exciting lineup of soldering pins onto chips. Yeah, Faye being from a slice of life anime before Cowboy Bebop. Here we go. Went from slice of life to cowboy. What a jump. Go. See all those little intuitive things about bending the wire and getting it to kind of sit in the way that I want it to sit are things that I've internalized over time. I've done a lot of this stuff over the years, and fuck, son of a bitch! Why can't I do anything? I'm a failure! Starts breaking everything. This wire will heat up quite a bit and transmit that heat. It'll transmit it, and then it'll desolder whatever it's connected to on both sides, and it'll tend to wander. So you kind of want to try to minimize that. It's tough to do. I'm not confident that that one is soldered up there, so I'm going to give it a little give it a little bit of the over soldering. I gotta fix this shadow problem that I have when I'm working real close to the bench. The shadow of my hand blocks my extra light. Because you want 3 light sources on everything so that you can minimize shadows. My eyes! Oh, I flashbanged everybody. What kind of work did you do for the government? It's actually in the bio down there, but it's reverse engineering IEDs. So I did not do soldering specific stuff. And the special projects that I worked on are indeed not something that I can talk about because they're probably under a different classification rating than everything else. But what I did wasn't all that classified. It's just the facility that we worked in exposed us to potentially classified stuff. But what we did was we took in IED electronics, so ranging from bombs to bombs, and actually some stuff wasn't bombs and some stuff we had to figure out whether it was bombs, but it was mainly the electronics for a lot of stuff like that. And we had to evaluate the engineering of it and what the makeup was and what the design details were and the functionality and stuff like that, and write it up into a big giant document. This shadow is really bugging me. I don't know why. I've got light directly overhead, and yet I can't get to this stuff. Shadow! We had to write these huge engineering documents on things, and then we'd submit it to God knows what. It was just a system of intelligence, and then we were not analysts. We didn't go through all the analysis of those devices. But it was there's an article, and it's probably lost to the internet at this point since it was a long time ago, but it was called Left of Boom, and it detailed all that stuff. So everything I'm talking about is perfectly fine to talk about. I just can't go through specifics. Some people come into my chat and they're like, how do you build a bomb? And I'm like, like, do you have any level of self-awareness beyond just kind of existing on the internet? Rembrandt lighting technique. I've not heard of that. No, what is it? The guy that worked with Lyle Rath on his Class of '09 anime game, SMB2, has some old tutorial videos on lighting and sound design, and they're pretty damn good videos for figuring yourself out. I didn't get all of my info from that, but I got some of my lighting info from him. Him and my buddy that's in production. Them. I don't know. Probably him. All right. This is not. Why is that not? Come on, man. I don't see. I'm seeing exactly what you guys are seeing. So I don't have parallax. I don't. Or I do. You know, we suffer from our lack of spatial awareness here. I don't have 2 eyes looking at this. I'm only looking at it through the flat image that you guys are also seeing. So when I try to solder to something and I'm off in the vertical, yeah, you now know why. That doesn't seem right. What the hell? That's an airplane noise. Book. Book? It was an article. Did somebody write a book? Or is it just available in a book form now? Because it was just a long article. I don't think it was a book. And then everybody thought Hurt Locker was exactly like, you know, our job, but it really wasn't. Hurt Locker, I believe, is some type of sleeping pill. Keep that iron clean. Keep the tip clean. Okay, and then I probably have to go back over that one. This is going to take me a while, and it's looking like I could end stream before, you know, this is done. But then when would I have time to work on this? Probably tomorrow morning. I could sit down and finish the soldering on this so that we can actually get to building a circuit with this thing, because we've got a couple op amps that'll go on the board, but you know, this is a little tedious. This takes a little bit of time for me to do. It's careful work, and it's sort of annoying to just exclusively have on the stream. But you guys see the technique and what goes into actually doing anything with it. I should probably order some circuit boards for SO breakouts. I think there's probably like an easy kit. When will that get here? It'll probably get here before I'm done soldering this thing. May not be the same thing, but it has the same name. I found it really hard to find that article again when I looked for it, but it was exactly describing what I was involved with. Where's the government? Amazon SO breakout board. Doots and doots and doots. $9.99 gets here tomorrow. Jesus Christ. Why have I been doing this? Why have I been spending all my time doing this when I can just do this? I can just get one of these and have a bunch of PCBs that I'm not really going to find useful in the future, but I'll have plenty of them. And it's 1 day shipping, so it gets here tomorrow. Yeah, forget it. I'm just spending the $10 on that. This technique sucks. This technique is useless. Don't listen to me. Tomorrow, November 8th, place my order. Jeez, what am I doing here? What are any of us doing here? This is ridiculous. Are you guys watching me do this shit? No, this technique makes sense if you have something that's not exactly SO, but with something that's surface mount like that, I mean, geez, come on. Enough is enough. Oh, wait, Amazon for pin header. Square pin header. $9.99 gets here tomorrow, add to cart. Wait, that's male and female. No, you got to leave room for the Lord. I only need the male stuff. Delete from the cart. No, where's the remove? Man, they make that tough. Delete, there it is. Okay, I'll go back on my search. Back and back. High let go. 20 pieces, 40 pin, 2.54. That'll do, that'll do. Buy it now. And hopefully the shipping is tomorrow place. Okay, well, two of the problems we had today we just solved. Using no more than $20. And I should have, if I ordered it at the beginning of stream, maybe it could have been delivered by now. Yeah, anyway, okay, so that's, okay, you guys saw the technique. You can see how it comes in handy. You can also see how you can completely circumvent, subvert, I don't know, you can completely undo. You don't need to waste your time. You can just buy a board that does it for $10 now. So, and since I live basically on top of an Amazon fulfillment warehouse, I'm sorry, an Amazon Center for Human Rights Violations, I live right near one, and so when I order stuff like that, I can get it overnight. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to order it overnight. This will come in the mail. I'll do a little bit of soldering with you guys tomorrow. Well, it's not going to come until the end of tomorrow, so we'll find something else to do tomorrow that's not breadboarding. You know, we could breadboard this whole thing. How's it going, Groovy? Are you living in a desert now? Because I am. All the trees are looking like droopy, and all the ground is dust, except for the dog pee. That's the only moisture that we can find out here. Anyway, so those parts will come by the end of the day tomorrow. Until then, I can try to figure out what the circuit's going to look like. We'll find something else to do for tomorrow. We'll do something. I don't know what yet, but I'll rack my brain and try to figure something out. We've got a bunch of different projects that need love. Maybe we can do a breakdown day for Burn the Subs so that I can get that ready for the next stage of doing all of the wiring harness stuff. Until then, I want you guys to take care of yourselves and try to keep your head up. That's the only advice that I have to give. But yeah, we'll be back and we'll do projects tomorrow. Yeah, here in the desert of the Northeast. We haven't seen rain in so long. I saw a cloud yesterday. What a treat. What a treat that was, seeing a cloud. It was up there in the sky. I yelled at it for hours. We'll do some power supply stuff tomorrow, which actually requires me to do real soldering. And this technique I mean, it's useful. It's fine. It works really well. You can do a lot of like other types of chips with this. Like if you have a quad flat no lead, you can flip it upside down and do the same thing with all the pins. Only you need to definitely like mark where your pin 1 is and stuff like that. Are you sure it wasn't Cloud? Yeah, it was that Orb song that was playing during the holidays. Little Fluffy Clouds. I'm gonna desolder this thing so hard. This took us like 2 hours. Mainly just because everything that you do on stream takes a long time. But that technique is one for like a bunch of different types of circuits. If you have a VGA and you have motor wire, this stuff, thick motor wire and a BGA, you can do that same technique and break out a BGA with it. So, okay, here's the end card. It's got all of my credentials, my credenza. It's got all of my credentials on it, including Blue Sky, which has been kind of a refreshing linear timeline version of Twitter. I mean, it's the same stuff, right? But a lot of us soldering gurus, and not just soldering gurus, but like tech makers have moved over to there, and somewhat shocked a lot of the artists that were already there. I read a post today of somebody, I'm going to call it a post because I don't know what, I could call it a tweet, but that doesn't give way to that it's being a Blue Sky. I don't know what they're calling Blue Sky posts these days. A secretion? I saw a secretion from one of the artists on Blue Sky that said, why are all these tech bros following me all of a sudden? I need Blue Sky to send me notifications for some reason. I'm not getting any. Yeah, I don't know the nuances of that stuff. A flap? Ew. Here's my info. You can go to my posts or whatever and scroll down to some of the older ones, and there's a list of makers that you can follow. And if you are a maker, you can get yourself put on that list. It's getting me occasional follows at this point. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they're called. If your secretions are blue, call a doctor. Yeah, that's good advice. All right, until then, I'm going to go touch grass. The sun appears to be starting to go down. And I will catch you guys tomorrow on stream, and we'll probably work on the power supply for the module testing module. All of my projects are like taking a couple steps back in order to go forward again. So we'll reconvene tomorrow. See you then. Thank you for joining me. Lunatic Livers, thank you for raiding. Did I miss any other things? No, not since the raid. We had Trisma sub, and we had Syphilidate sub, and then like a million years ago, was that today? 2 days, NyanoCat also a million years ago. So thank you guys, and I will catch you later. Okay, the camera's off. God, these fucking people. Oh shit, the camera's still on.